Academy. They lay down the shatter. Let the bodies hit the floor. Uprising Academy at 95%.
Right now with Hydra building up to this Bear Barrage so quickly.
Oh!
And asking!
Double kill in the back with the pulse bug from the high ground. Aerial assault with that mine.
Impact se escucha debajo gritar campeón a Sky Foxes.
Holy cow.
And after 42 consecutive losses, the Shanghai Dragons get their first win.
8 teams enter this weekend.
Oh no, Reinhardt, what are you doing?
We got a clip with minimal information. It's time to break it down. Speed, 25%. Go. Figure out what this man's SR is.
Keep fighting until it's for sure lost. Winnable! It is the final day of Overwatch Contenders Trials North America for the year of 2020. Labasco here alongside Thibbledork, and we've got quite the day ahead for you. We have some spots that we were still trying to figure out, and the first game we have of the night is Square One versus Last Hope to determine who will win that second and final spot in Group A. Thibble, this one obviously pivotal for both teams and making it in for the November tournament.
Right, but there are actually 3 teams in contention for this second spot in the group. I'll kind of break down the math here as we look over at the standings for the week here in Group A. If Square One win, they're in. Doesn't matter how. They're up 4-1. Everyone else below them is 3-2 or lower. That's it. If Last Hope win 3-1 or 3-0, they're in. They're 3-2, but they have the head-to-head advantage and the map differential in their favor. Our 0 also have a shot, but it's a little trickier. They must win 3-0 in their match today, and Last Hope must not win 3-0. If so, they jump over them with the map differential and the head-to-head throughout the week, and our 0 will make it into contenders. But that is obviously a very contrived case. There's a lot of things that have to happen to make that so. And Square One, have the easiest chance because all they got to do is walk away with the W.
Destiny in their hands for Square One. For Last Hope, obviously, Destiny can be in their hands. Just 3-0. That's the biggest thing. 3-0, and you don't have to worry about anything. That's what both of these teams are fighting for here today. And the rosters that we have are rosters that we've seen here throughout Contenders Trials for both of these teams. And when we look at Square One, just looking at this roster, I mean, this is a good group of players that are trying to make it in. And Square One has gone through a bunch of different iterations of roster, but this most recent one with King and Spee as the DPS, Aspen, Exorath as the supports, and then Brute and Milky Man as the tanks, they've got a good chance of getting back into contenders here.
I'd like to say so. This feels to me like the best iteration of the roster that we've seen since the old like Path to Poverty core. A big throwback for the old dogs like you and I. They came up from relative obscurity. They were a really hot team. They stayed hot for a while. But obviously they've bounced back and forth between contenders and trials and various levels of performance since. But like King, this veteran player, despite being, I think, 14 or 15 years old, Milky Man having been around in EU and North America, Aspen and Exorath, a fantastic backline, frankly. I mean, just the star power is finally aligning for Square One. Last Hope, though, on the other end, like these are some players that have been bouncing around maybe the lower tiers in these past couple months, perhaps, but still have a shot and have still proven that they can take it to some pretty impressive teams this week.
And players like Noxious come to mind, who is somebody that's been around for a while, though, too. And some of these players are still players that we've seen before. So obviously, there's no lack of talent when you get to Contenders Trials. That's without a question. It's just about how are you going to do in the current patch that you end up playing on. And for both of these teams, this is it. It's win or go home. And there's not another month that we're going to be seeing either. This is the last month for North America. So the stakes, they really can't get any higher than this.
Right. I mean, if you go home now and sit for however long it's going to be until we get back into open division and contenders, a lot can happen. You could lose your shot. You could lose a key trial. You could decide, it's not worth it. These guys have to make money and make a living and stay alive out there. So if you're not making it up into contenders, it can be disastrous in this sort of season. There are some third-party tournaments coming up in the future, a couple that I know about, and a couple perhaps that we will find out about that I don't know about here in the coming months. But we don't know what contenders structure will look like in 2021. So
Right.
These guys must fight for everything they've got here today.
A lot on the line. And before we get there, we'll take a quick timeout, and when we come back, we'll take a look and see where we go for map number 1.
So you queue up for Overwatch Ranked, only to be greeted by this, which then leads to this, and oh no, Reinhardt, what are you doing? The solution? Elo Hell pickup games.
Hey, you know what? Just what we're doing.
Oh my god, it's huge! Oh, no! Kill! Let's go!
Open to players of all ranks and most platforms, Pugs give you the chance to experience competitive Overwatch as it was meant to be played. Competitively.
I need help.
I'm with you.
Shoot.
No way, dude.
Go. Let's go. Nice. Good call.
Players set their icons to indicate the role they want to play, then 2 captains pick their teammates and draft the most competitive teams they can. You can also take part in our pioneering learning event, Coached Pugs. To take part, join the Elo Hell Pickup Games Discord, and be sure to read the Pug Guide and FAQ. Good luck, have fun, and we'll see you in-game.
We welcome you back here to Contenders Trials North America. Square one versus Last Hope is where we're getting ready to see, but we got to figure out where we're going, though, first for that map number 1, and it is going to be Oasis for our first map.
Right. A set rotation here in Trials, giving all these teams a chance to prepare on the same sets of maps, kind of bringing down the strategic complexity to make sure that the games are even and nice and competitive. Both teams getting a good shot here on Oasis. They've obviously played it a lot this week. We'll have to see what sort of compositions both these teams want to pull out, or if they want to try and pull out anything new now that the stakes are so high. If you've got kind of a strategic backlog, right about now is the time to bring it out, if I'm thinking of them.
Yeah, like we said, there's nothing that you're waiting for at this point, except for maybe some other tournaments that might come around. But we can see here the nice view that we get at the start, or which I believe this is Gardens is the map. So as far as Gardens is concerned, I mean, it's Echo being hovered by King, not too much of a surprise.
No, I like the pick for sure. We're also seeing a bit of a what I'm calling in my EU Trials broadcast the Newton's Cradle composition from Last Hope. The Sigma Wrecking Ball with the Soldier, Noxious probably swapping over to a Tracer or Reaper perhaps. But yeah, the Echo from Square One is a nice wrinkle. That airborne capability and the burst damage from him and Milky Man could put a pretty solid thorn in Last Hope's side.
Well, Last Hope is going to be going to the low. Well, actually, both teams will meet onto the high ground as they both make their way there. And you can see Milky Man looking for that hook onto the Tracer, missing that opportunity. Nobody really in control of the high ground yet. Square One now rotating around towards the point as it's about to open up. They know that Faded is somewhere on the side, getting ready to come back in. Goes to the high ground, pile drivers in. Micro gets the finish off with the flail onto Brute. So now you're down 1 player for Square One, and Last Hope not pushing the advantage just yet, but might start to go to the high ground here to try and take advantage of that. A Helix Rocket hits into Milky Man, and things even up as Tree goes down. So neither team really getting control just yet in this fight.
Nope, but Micro getting that pick on the King is giving them an edge here. Last Hope coming in with the first capture. In general, Square One's composition is so focused on getting picks and getting in their faces, but Last Hope keeping them at arm's length, using the mid-range damage from Tree on that Soldier, and even Train Cloud with the Sigma as well. And some good ultimates coming through for Last Hope as well. Close to the Transcendence, they have the Pulse Bomb, and they're close to the Visor too.
Oh, the beam almost able to get faded down. Speed will finish off Micro, though, so they get that Brigitte out of the fight early on. Noxious, though, trying to even things back up, but the Tracer making the difference right now for Square One as they have the advantage and are pushing it and will have their opportunity to cap.
Yep, looks like Square One coming through with the capture here. They do get it after 31% gain for Last Hope. A couple ultimates still for Last Hope. They were forced to use the Transcendence to not much effect. A lot of it was actually blocked off by the shield from Brute. And now Square One coming in with 5 ultimates to this defense. It's really their choice what they choose to use. But if I'm them, I'm trying to not use more than 2 of these if I can help it. Hold on to that Transcendence, maybe use it to counter the Gravitic Flux, but otherwise be conservative. There's a lot left of Guardians.
Have to try and get control of that high ground too, but the Pulse Bomb finds the kill at the beginning for Square One. So it's another fight where they're going to have to back out. They don't use anything, but they only force out that Pulse Bomb.
Well, and the rally, actually.
The rally,
Aspen did
yeah.
engage with that, thinking that it was going to be a more protracted fight, but that initial pick and the immediate follow-up from King actually made things finish pretty quickly. They still have a lot to work with. Yeah, maybe you would have liked to hang on to that rally, but it wasn't a bad play for sure. Last Hope coming in, though, now with a lot of ultimates in their favor. Let's see what they can make.
Keep everybody alive, don't lose anybody. Not a bad thing to use that ultimate, but now you've got to try and hold on to the ultimates you have and make them work. Transcendence cannot save King, but Exorath saves everybody else on the team from the visor. Brute going onto the high ground to try and deal. Gravitic Flux trying to pull players in. 3 were pulled in, but it's Last Hope who's in control of the point once again. It's going to get about to 75%, 74 for Square One. Now they only have the 1 ultimate.
And a close miss there from Brute to take down the Zenyatta. Not that I think it would have done too much, except make him run back from spawn. Autumn Soul's coming in close to the Transcendence here. A nice advantage over Exorath with 45% and counting for Last Hope, but not much else to work with. Let's see if they choose to use the mines from Faded, or if they try and just hold on to things, pull out some more resources from Square One.
Faded, looking for that opportunity to maybe swing in, and now does so. Gets stunned though, but still can pile driver down and in. Gets those mines in that corridor where everybody else for Square One is. Exorath is the first one to go down too, and Last Hope is beginning to clean up this fight. King not getting the value out of that ultimate that you would like on the Echo, so Square One will have to regroup.
Right, and Micro getting such insane value this entire game. The whip shots are laser accurate. They're cleaning up and getting the right kills and being in the right places. Tons of Inspire uptime means lots of rallies coming through as well, and it's really all Aspen has been able to do to keep up. She has the advantage now, but Micro overall, I feel, has been doing a better job in this key bodyguard role, and it's been great for them so far.
Well, you can't do anything, though, if you get hit with that Pulse Bomb, so Speed making sure to target that Brigitte. Exorath on the other side, so both teams without a support. Overtime starting. Last Hope still in control for the moment. Square One able to flip it back, but Autumn Souls takes King out of the sky. Milky Man, the next one to be burst down by Tree, and it's looking like Last Hope might be able to seal this one off. The visor from Tree at the end to keep Last Hope in front on the point. Overtime meter starts to tick away. Last Hope, well, they're going to get that last little bit of touch, but Train Cloud there with the ultimate to slow things down. Transcendence by Exorath to keep this going, but they have so few players on the point.
Right, it's so tough to get grouped back together as 6 in these situations, and the Transcendence buys time, and the ultimates that you use buy a little more, but ultimately there's too much of an advantage here for Last Hope. Gardens goes over to them, and honestly, that looked pretty good. Like, that's the kind of start I'm looking for a team that is in the middle of the pack, that is fighting for their lives here. That is the start I want.
The map of Gardens allows you to use King on the Echo. We're going now to University. We know that there's still actually quite a bit of a skybox where the point is, and King is still showing the Echo, at least for the moment. Noxious has already made the switch over, though, for Last Hope, over to the Sombra.
And it's interesting seeing the comparison here. I'll admit I've been focused a bit more on European trials this week. That's where I've been casting with my buddy Big Hungry Phil, and they love their May McCree on this map. So interesting to not see that here. I'm still okay with the Echo pick. I don't think these are throws by any means. Yeah. And Noxus on the Sombra too. Sombra is wicked effective here. Pulling out some East Coast slang for you there, Lobo. But it remains to be seen which of these will pull ahead, except apparently Noxus is going to tell us right now.
gets the kill onto King. Might have gotten the hack out on there too. I think there's a hack onto a Mercy as well. Regardless of that, it's looking pretty good for Last Hope as far as control goes. They have players on the point. They have to try and regroup in for square one. They do have their Echo back in King. Tree now starting to get aggressive, getting close to that pulse bomb already too. Has to be a little bit careful though. Gets healed back up by Autumn Souls. And now they get that hack onto the Wrecking Ball, onto the low ground. There's no Mega Health Pack for Milky Man, and Square One is just losing this fight.
Right, the Sombra gives you such a huge advantage in the tank battle because Milky Man is forced. Much like any other player would have to worry about a Widow in their sightlines, Milky Man has to worry about the Sombra. He is begging to be hacked anytime he shows his little baby hamster face. And he then's become a walking ball full of ult charge. And Noxious already 70% to the EMP. Tree has the Pulse Bomb already, and the tank ultimates and the Sound Barrier also coming online for Last Hope fast. So in addition to that first capture, they also have a great ult advantage because of that Sombra.
Train Cloud getting hit with some of those sticking bombs from King. King about to get the ultimate up right now. Quickly uses it to duplicate the D.Va. Now we'll focus on the D.Va in front for Last Hope. So Square One coming back in, have a self-destruct on the point. Will create some space, but Milky Man again going down to Noxious. The Sombra winning that battle outright. You have the Pulse Bomb come through from Tree as well. And now control of the point just still firmly in the grasp of Last Hope.
This feels like DPS hero difference, and to a degree DPS player difference. Tree and Noxious are putting on a clinic. The Tracer Sombra is so aggressive against the Wrecking Ball tank line, and the D.Va as well. Brute cannot do much in the face of that. The duplicate coming through from King was clever. It buys him more time, and a self-destruct on the point is potentially a good zoning tool, but his team could not follow up with the pressure Last Hope was putting on them. This looks really good for them. It's 80% to 0. They still have some awesome ults to work with, and I don't know if Square One will be able to find the answer.
This could be the last fight. Milky Man's going to throw out the mine, so that'll make it a little bit difficult, but the EMP comes out and responds onto the point. Still manages to get both of the tanks for Square One, so it doesn't catch everybody, but does catch a lot. Noxious will go down, but the Coalescence is ripping through the rest of Square One. Overtime starts to go, and Last Hope well in front. Plenty of players on the point. Just avoid the self-destruct. Get back on. Oh, Micro doesn't avoid it, though, but this is still their fight to clean up.
Right, still looking pretty good for them. That pick onto Noxious was great. It's what they needed, but this fight went on too long, and Noxious made it back. Brute eating the pulse bomb from Tree is pretty, sure, but Tree says, I'll just take the climax instead. And in general, there's been no answer for both of them this round.
And Micro's back into the fight, and they end up getting off the point. They don't even get a chance to finish their contest. Last Hope wins map number 1 and takes a 1-0 lead. A good start for them on that 3-0 that they need to ensure themselves to a spot in Contenders.
Right, Last Hope must have the best game they can have right now. This cannot go to a map 5. You don't even really want it to go to a map 4. If you do, there's still a chance, but it gets that much slimmer. Of course, that will also depend on the results of another game that's going on right now.
Yeah.
We'll do our best to keep you updated on that as it goes, but it's actually just a fantastic start here, I would say, for Last Hope. Getting tons of value out of that Tracer Sombra. No real answer from Square One. King doing his best on the duplicates, but ultimately not having that much luck. And Milky Man looking kind of caught out. Obviously, a Wrecking Ball against a Sombra can only do so much. But I feel the team really needs to talk about how they're going to handle that if Last Hope choose to bring it back, because it looked oppressive.
Is this where you maybe start to consider the mirror? We're going to Hanamura as our next map. The Sombra is definitely still an option here. Obviously, Hanamura itself brings a lot of a much different feel as far as how the map will go. You could maybe still see King play the Echo, but I don't know if it had the effectiveness they were hoping for.
No, I think on City Center it's not a bad play, and I think on Gardens it's not a bad play, but pulling it out on University, hindsight being the year we're in, maybe not the best move. Getting onto Hanamura, there is space for it. There are still open skyboxes to dart around in as Echo, much like there were on University. But I'll bring up Europe again. They've been running lots of McCree, lots of Soldier Tracer. May Bastion or May Symmetra has been really popular, just to kind of teleport into weird places and collapse on unsuspecting members, which is just as chaotic as you think it would be from its description.
Sounds like it.
We even have Orisa comps over there, which is Unfortunate. I dislike the hero intensely, as I'm sure many other people do. But there is lots of point presence that can be gained from an Orisa composition.
Yes.
And maybe that's the chance for Square One, right? Set Milky Man back on the battle cattle. He might not be too happy about it, but if that's the play that really breaks up Last Hope's strategy here, then maybe that's what you go for.
Well, teams are not switching sides, so Last Hope will still be the team in white. Team Square One, of course, will be the team in green. And defensively, I mean, it's looking like Square One already knew what they wanted to do, and they've made those swaps. Brute is going to play the Sigma, and the Milky Man not going to be on the ball, going to be on the Roadhog.
I'm okay with this. I expect this from Square One after the match we just had. I think Milky Man on the Hog is kind of a big part of their strategy. Just go for the picks against those squishies, get faded out of his rotations, grab the Zen if you can. That one's always nice. But easier said than done sometimes. Train Cloud will have his work cut out for him as we see some massive last-minute swaps. We're going for some Mei Sim here. This teleport and wall strat has been pretty effective this week if you catch the other team off guard and you move quickly. Let's see if Last Hope can do it.
Pick potential from the other side, though, of course, can make this very difficult. They're going to teleport to the high ground. They're going to take that rotation around to that left side, excuse me. So they will be able to throw those turrets up, make it a little bit difficult to approach the point for Square One. But now they're in a poke battle, at least for the moment. You do have King, who will be harassing from the side. Now they move on to the point for Last Hope. What is the answer that comes out from Square One? Tree making sure to stay with the rest of Square One. About to get to that next point. The wall blocking off Aspen, so you already lose one player for the side of Square One. Last Hope now has a teleporter down, can teleport behind those players back and forth, and Faded will charge towards Brute. This Mei Symmetra strategy working out at least in the beginning for the side of Last Hope.
Right, great use of their toolkits from both TPS players there. The flanking mid-fight teleport is always a nice loop to throw, and that wall from Tree to catch Aspen out of position was fantastic. So good use there from Last Hope. I think they cap off of this, some last-minute contest coming through, but not really anything substantial. Though speed does get Noxious as a little parting gift. I think this point is easily going Last Hope's way.
Yeah, Noxious did go down, so that will maybe delay things for a moment for Last Hope, but that's okay because they get the cap. They've got over 5 minutes on the clock. It gives some credit to Square One. They made that take a little bit of time.
They did pull out some time. We could easily be looking at a 6-minute bank right now. That extra 40 seconds can frankly come in pretty clutch. And now we're going for the photon barrier into teleport, take up that little sliver of the point, block off everything else. Look at this wall, for Pete's sake.
Oh my gosh.
This is oppressive, and they're buying so much space.
What was Speed supposed to do? You couldn't even tell what was happening in the game. Now you have the Blizzard thrown out onto the point. It freezes up a bunch of players. Brute gonna go down because of it. Aspen can't even deal with the turret that's keeping her away, and now Speed will get back onto the point. King coming back in. They have to get a few more picks. There's only 4 players left, but the coalescence could make the difference for Last Hope to finish this off. They get another player down, but Train Cloud gets traded out. Still have respawners coming back in for Square One. Speed back in on the Tracer, and now they will eventually only give up 33% for Square One.
Big credit to Brute there, who came out of spawn on the Wrecking Ball and knocked 2 or 3 people off the point, forcing them into a long rotation, and I think they actually attempted to teleport back up to high ground, but did not have much success. In the meantime, with Last Hope split off like that, super easy for them to start cleaning up with their spawn advantage, and now Last Hope are looking to switch things up. Faded on the Roadhog, Milky Man now on the Wrecking Ball. We're really doing some tank shuffle here, but sometimes that's just what you got to do. It's all rock, paper, scissors here in Overwatch.
Speaking of changing things up, Tree is on the Soldier, Noxious is not on the Symmetra anymore, is on the Tracer. So they have switched up too on the side of Last Hope. Oh, by the way, Faded on the Roadhog now too. So they start to approach that high ground. A couple players getting low. Exarath now can get aggressive because of the rally coming out from Brigitte. They will just let those players stay back, though. They don't want to get overly aggressive, and Exarath just hitting a ton of right clicks there, slowing things down for Last Hope, and Last Hope taking too long to make a decision, and Noxus goes down.
King, the young prod, with the wacky flicks on the focusing beam, just helping to finish off the Tracer there, who was caught a little out of position, now swapping over to the Sombra. Nice ultimate build up here for Square One. The Transcendence is easily going to be able to meet the incoming Gravitic Flux from the Train Cloud, and not too much else for Last Hope because of all these swaps that we've been seeing. The poke favors the defenders here because they can just sit back and charge their ultimates at their leisure and wait for these teams to rotate around. And now Last Hope going and getting a nice pick, making me eat my words.
That's a huge pick from Faded to get that hook onto King, and now the Gravitic Flux will force out the Transcendence. So many players low though on Last Hope, have to be careful. Coming through and dying was Milky Man, so Square One losing out on that tank. Gravitic Flux to be answered though from Brute. Pulls up one and takes down Faded. Tree using the ult from the high ground, trying to clear off these few players that are left. King using the whole hog while in the duplicate form, keeping players away and at bay, slowing things down, gets the hook onto Noxus and gets the kill. The stall is good enough for Square One.
Right, and that last second hook combo there really sealed the deal. Looking pretty winnable for Square One at that point anyways, but that was the icing on the cake. Now they get to chase down these staggers. Yeah, even if King goes down, they have the spawn advantage. Milky Man's got to get away though, because he's going to feed pretty hard over to Noxus, who needs that EMP to really seal the deal on this attack with less than 2 minutes in the bank.
They were able to get another 33% though, Thibble, so they only have to get that final tick.
Yeah. I mean, they have a pretty nice percentage bank built up here, 69.3%, but they're going to want that last tick for sure. Yes, thank you. Faded really showing up in that last fight. 2 really good hooks to start it, but you need more than that. You have to sustain the fight long enough to build up this EMP. Here's another. Micro already getting speed.
Forcing players off the high ground is Faded with the whole hog, so now they have control for Last Hope. Starting to come down is Faded. Gets dropped, so does the rest of the team. They didn't get on the point! Square One didn't get on! It's gonna be a cap with 1:10 for Last Hope!
And that was a pretty organic, grain-fed, farm-raised Charlie Niner there, ladies and gentle gamers. I don't think there were too many zoning tools, right? Because the whole hog had just been used on the high ground. It actually pushed away the minefield, which was insanely clutch. And then after that, they just loaded onto the point. There was actually a flux coming through from Square One, but I think it got canceled. And then after that, the point was captured. So somebody messed up there. There were too many bodies right there in that little corner of the point that we're looking at here. And 110 in the bank. That is a big deal because that time bank could prove to be a pretty sizable advantage if they can hold Square One close. Assuming they don't full hold or do something crazy like that. We have Spee showing us the Reaper on the attacking side. Not sure. Could work. I mean, Roadhog is kind of more common here in this match so far, so Reaper kind of the natural counter that we often talk about. But Tree now on the Echo over here on the defense too.
So definitely some wrinkles being thrown in from the side of Last Hope. To your point too, if Square One can finish with over 2 minutes, they get to keep whatever time that they have because of where the time bank finishes for Last Hope. They lose 10 seconds. So that is the one thing to remember for the side of Square One. If they get a big time bank, they can keep it. So that should be the goal for them, for Square One. And they are keeping this Winston. They are keeping Spee on, well, they were trying to keep him on the Reaper, but instead, that Reaper's going right to the grave.
No, well, they kept him on the Reaper. They did not keep him alive. That's the other thing they want to keep him on. The living, the side of the living, let's say. The Reaper lore about being alive or not is suspect. King on the Sombra here. I'm okay with this. I think we saw a little bit of it before. EMP, of course, very powerful tool. And the health packs as well on the rotation like this, not a bad resource. Quick rotation around the backside here, trying to take whatever high ground they can away from Last Hope.
This is a big rotation, though. It's taking a lot of time. So if this attack doesn't work, there's going to be a lot of questions that they're going to have to ask themselves for Square One. They move towards the point now, though. This is the pivotal moment for the setup to get to here. Brute getting pulled back in. Tree's going to use the duplicate onto the Winston, trying to build up to that primal rage. They burn him down and don't allow that to happen. A massive loss for Last Hope, and Square One cleaning up behind the coalescence of Exarath.
Well, we might see that scenario about the big time banks here moving fast for Square One, about 15 seconds ahead of where Last Hope were, to be fair. It's not a huge gap, but this dive composition, this Sombra Reaper dive is so good at taking fast, decisive engagements, and they're already on the point.
Being decisive with where they go, but they lose Exorath at the beginning. That alone might be all that this fight has to offer. They're still going in aggressively. Speed's been able to get 2 kills, evening things up. They're still winning. Speed with the 3rd. Still hunting down one more in Tree. They've got control of the point. 33% is already theirs. About to have the Death Blossom too. And now you have to try and get on if your Last Hope. Transcendence in desperation, and it gets pushed away. And there's all that extra time you're going to be able to keep for Square One.
And such a fantastic strategic outplay from Square One. Swapping to the Reaper Sombra dive, which is a composition we've seen in weeks past and in tournaments past, but not here lately. We've been swapping to that Newton's Cradle comp, the May Sim, the Roadhog here in NA. But swapping over to the Reaper Sombra dive is such a different look, both in terms of the heroes, obviously, but the way in which the fights go. These guys are focused on just, jump straight to point. If you're going to walk into us, we have a ton of cleave damage, a ton of burst damage. And do you really have the answer to that? And the answer apparently was no, because 456 is in the bank for Square One. That is monolithic. Last Hope have 70 seconds to see what they can do to buy themselves as much space between themselves and the end of that time bank as possible.
They're going with, at least right now, they're still in spawn, but it's looking like they might favor, well, Faded's making the switch. But defensively, I mean, they're not switching anything for Square One because they had more success defensively with this when they got to the point B.
Right. I don't think Sombra Reaper Dive makes a comeback here. I think if anything, they bring it out on second, but like you said, they've been doing really well with this composition on the defense. So, not surprising to see more of the same, not surprising to see Last Hope attempting a Reaper Sombra Wrecking Ball dive of their own. Curious to see how much this can get done, but they're giving it a shot.
Their rotation is going to be on the opposite side of the map where we saw Square One go with their dive. So a little bit of a different approach with how they're going to get to the point. Obviously, they should be able to get there a lot quicker, too. They do have to worry about King contesting in the air, though. King can stay away pretty effectively. There's not that hook that you have to worry about. You don't have the damage that can really deal with the Echo in the sky. And there comes the damage through for the Echo. King with a double kill for the side of Square One.
Disaster for Last Hope here. They go for a long rotation, burn half their time bank. Noxious goes for a play to force players away from the point so the rest of the team can go on the rotation. Gets caught out of the air, or from the air, I should say, by King, who immediately just turns around. They clean up in the 5v6, and now there's 5 seconds left. I don't even know if they touch here. Faded gets in, but dies immediately.
Got the touch, though, so still procs the overtime. Trent Cloud will be able to come in and get the second touch to keep the overtime going, but they're losing players left and right as that happens. The cleanup too strong from Square One. They have solidified themselves with a perfect win condition, 33%, as they finish off the last few players that are making their way to the point.
Yeah, and a valiant effort there from Last Hope, really trying to just mix it up and keep that game of 4D chess going. But that composition, it took too long to get that rotation around. They were waiting for cooldowns, which is the sensible thing to do, sure. But Noxious getting a little greedy, I think, on trying to pull people to the other side of the point and distract them. Maybe just didn't press the translocator in time, or perhaps it was destroyed somewhere and just gets caught out. And that you cannot have that happen. You need the manual hacks. You need the hit scan damage, as though it's relatively low for a Sombra. They're not huge on the front-loaded damage. Just losing that with half your time bank gone and less than 30 seconds on the clock, it was over right there. And the rest of it was just the crying. Right. So now 456. Ugh.
So much. We don't see 456 on the clock, like, ever in this game anymore.
Back in the day, we would.
Right.
I am reminded of Runaway versus Kongu Banthera, that 5-minute hold on Horizon Lunar Colony. That was a defining moment, frankly, in Overwatch history, that entire series. And if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it, dear viewers. It is one of the best series of Overwatch of all time, period. And frankly, if Last Hope can pull this off, we could be in the contention for one of the greatest 2CP maps I think we've ever seen, because they just got gobsmacked. And it's going to be all they can do, I think, to really hold for more than a minute or two without giving up the one tick it's going to take for Square One to win this map.
Well, Square One definitely looked better on this dive composition. They're going with it again. Noxus is playing on the Sombra again, so have to try and contest with that. They're going to the left side this time, trying to take control of that, and know maybe that's where the Sombra will hack, and we saw that that Mega Health Pack was hacked, so clear that out and now take control of the point. And now it's about whose dive is going to work effectively, and we're seeing it's already working for the side of Square One. Speed the first one to fall, and now you have that Winston extremely low and faded. They're not able to finish that off just yet. Cap coming out, but this is in control for Square One. Last Hope is on the outside looking in, and it's looking like they're not going to be able to 3-0 on this one. It's going to be a battle between Square One and Last Hope as Square One ties this up 1-1.
And I think it's really down to that Reaper in those last moments and in that last round. It's just too much front-loaded damage. It's too much to deal with and too much for a Sombra to keep up with, as well as the healers even. It's a lot. Reaper, it's really what Reaper is there for, to deal a lot of damage and look like he just walked out of the Hot Topic. Now, if Last Hope win 3-1, which is the best they could do, they're in assuming our 0 do not 3-0. So not entirely in their control, but still winnable for sure. And this is a contentious series, so I'm certainly not calling it for either side just yet. But Square One want this. So when we get back, we're going to see what happens.
Yep, and we'll take a timeout and we'll see what they can do on Eichenwald next.
Uprising Academy, they lay down the shatter, let the bodies hit the floor. Uprising Academy at 95%.
Right now with Hydra building up to this Bear Barrage so quickly.
Oh!
It asking!
Double kill in the back with the pulse bomb from the high ground. Aerial assault with that mine.
Impact se escucha debajo gritar campeón a Sky Foxes.
Holy cow.
And after 42 consecutive losses, the Shanghai Dragons get their first win.
8 teams enter this weekend.
Oh no, Reinhardt, what are you doing?
We got a clip with minimal information. It's time to break it down. Speed, 25%. Go. Figure out what this man's SR is.
Keep fighting till it's for sure lost.
Winnable!
So you queue up for Overwatch Ranked, only to be greeted by this, which then leads to this, and oh no, Reinhardt, what are you doing? The solution? Elo Hell pickup games.
Hey, you know what? Just do it.
Oh my god, it's huge! Oh no! Kill! Let's go!
Open to players of all ranks and most platforms, Pugs give you the chance to experience competitive Overwatch as it was meant to be played, competitively.
I need help.
I'm with you.
Shoot.
No way, dude.
Go. Let's go. Nice. Good call.
Players set their icons to indicate the role they want to play, then 2 captains pick their teammates and draft the most competitive teams they can. You can also take part in our pioneering learning event, Coached Pugs. To take part, join the Elo Hell Pickup Games Discord, and be sure to read the Pug Guide and FAQ. Good luck, have fun, and we'll see you in-game.
We got ourselves a banger here, a 1-1 tie between Last Hope and Square One. Labosco here alongside of me. I've got Thibbledork and Thibble. We go to Eichenwald next. Square One has to be happy about that because we know Echo can definitely be played on that map.
Oh yeah, fantastic map for her. Lots of airborne potential, big skyboxes, lots of sightlines. Not the end of the world though for Last Hope. There are answers. The Soldier, obviously very popular.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a little McCree, though I know we haven't seen much here today or this week in NA. There are hit scan options, of course. Anytime there's an airborne hero, there's a hit scan counter. So we'll have to see if Last Hope are going for any evolutionary wrinkles to deal with that, or if Square One are just going to keep flying over top of these guys.
It's funny to think, like, saying Soldier 7, I know it's been a little bit since the Soldier change has come through, but it brings a little smile to my face every time I'm like, oh yeah, Soldier is a viable option as that hit scan DPS that you can play to try and contest the Echo.
I feel like it's really been the last time I think we saw Soldier regularly played was the 2018 World Cup.
My gosh.
Like, that's how long it's been. Yeah, like Jake on the Soldier just destroying people. And then honestly, prior to that, it was like the pre-Owl era, you know, like people and weird people on the Soldier too. Like back in the day, like Raucus would swap off of Zenyatta and go play Soldier. I'm showing my age here, I know, but it's really been that long since we could talk about Soldier in a serious tone just because of how balance goes. You know, sometimes heroes just aren't that viable all the time. Speaking of heroes we haven't seen a ton of lately, King on the Genji here. They are an attack, actually. I'm contractually obligated not to talk about them. Last Hope over on the Newton's Cradle composition again, setting up on the high ground a little bit. It's not anything unexpected.
No, it's a composition where there's a lot of damage that can be output, especially when you've got Autumn Souls that can throw those damage orbs onto different players. Noxus has been good on anything as far as the Tracer of Sombra. Spee has been really good too, and King, of course, playing that Echo once again. Not too much of a surprise to see them go with that. Milky Man already finding, just avoiding it narrowly, but still going to maybe go down. No, gets saved by the supports with Tree, who was extremely low with Milky Man in their sights.
A great peel from Micro there, really, just providing that last little armor pack health and then shielding him off for the rest of it. Train Cloud getting Speed and King. Faded knocking out Exarath. It's a little back and forth here, but looking like an easy first hold for Last Hope.
Definitely went way more in their favor. You do lose Faded, but that's okay. Faded's going to be able to get back really quickly. And now they've got to regroup for Square One. Ultimates right now, Noxus is the closest one, getting close to that pole spot.
Yeah, and a good target perhaps for a tank or maybe one of the supports if you can really swing it. But if I'm Noxus, I hang on to that until there's really a brawl on the point and you can get in some cleave damage. Just do your best to soften people up even if it doesn't get a kill. If your tanks can follow through with that, with like a roll through, or you just throw it directly into nothingness, I guess that's cool. I really should stop talking. I'm going to curse this guy even more somehow.
When in doubt, throw it out. That's kind of what you do when you're playing Tracer and Pulse Bombing. Both Tracers go down, though, to the complementary DPS players on either team. Square One in control of the point. They've got to get a touch. Last Hope barely getting on there, but they're losing players, and now they've got to deal with a duplicate of King on to Sigma, and it is not going to well. They use the Transcendence there by Autumn Souls too. It will stall out, but it will not get the value that you'd want.
No, and this last recontest does not seem. It's not really it for me. I don't think. I would have rather have given them, that extra 15 seconds or so, but hang on to the Transcendence and all the health you just donated to the Square One ult bank. Milky Man even getting the dagger kill onto the tree, and now, now we're looking at a pause. So let's discuss. It's that's not a fan of that. Not a fan of that recontest at all. Really, it's just the Transcendence. Let's look at this again because we're back in game awful quick. Last Hope do have some ults to work with still. Not a big deal. But they are 52%, 51% behind in the Transcendence battle against Exarath here. And they're just going to try and contest with the mines and eat the Pulse Bomb to their credit.
So they get it one ult out, but their ult doesn't end up being very effective in the mines, ends up being behind, and Autumn Souls goes down. That Gravitic Flux puts on a lot of damage to multiple targets, and they'll be able to get this cart rolling once they deal with this Wrecking Ball for Square One.
And they do pull out some resources for Square One, but also the cart is going to progress so much through this middle section of streets. They're just going to have to go for this last recontest on the bridge, where boops are king and the neutral fight is really what matters. Last Hope, a lot of resources to work with, but Square One have been proving the mechanically more sound team so far, so their work is cut out for them.
And now you have to deal with coming out of those doors and players waiting for you there. Transcendence comes out. Wrecking Ball. I don't know what happened. Oh, it was a bash.
He tried to pile drive and got shield bash and stunned out of it and just fell to his death. That was insane.
Timing, wow, from Aspen is nuts. And they just cruise. I mean, there wasn't even a streets phase. It's over.
That was frame perfect from Aspen. Everyone bow to your queen because she is showing you how Brigitte should be played. Somewhere out there, Samito is having a panic attack. Because the fact that she was able to pull off something like that, like you said, right, there was no streets phase. That fight was over off of one click of the mouse. Now Noxious over on the Sombra again, trying to make something happen with that Train Cloud with a Flux, but not much else. And Square One smell blood.
They also know that they don't want to give up the high ground area as they move that cart around, so throw the mines up there. Oh, and then flank on either side. Deal with that if you're Last Hope, and the only thing they can do right now is go back to spawn. That cart slowly approaching its final destination. Players starting to stream back in for Last Hope. Gravitic Flux in desperation from Train Cloud. Throws those players in. Gets the kill onto Brood. Has to get more with those Hyper Spheres, but goes down. But the defenders coming back into the fight make the difference. Transcendence at the end by Autumn Souls too. That's going to be a loss later on that Square One will be happy that they got out.
Absolutely. Great to pull that towards the end. That pressure from King made Autumn Souls use it, even though he would have much rather hold on to it if he could. Exawrath now coming online with his pretty soon, 30% away. Brute close to the Flux, and King, I mean, the world is his oyster right now. This kid can do anything with this duplicate he wants, and there's so little space, but so much time for Square One.
Going to throw out the sticky bombs at the beginning onto Faded. Will now use the duplicate, going for the high risk, high reward play on the Sombra duplication. Already has the EMP, hits the targets that are left. The hat coming out towards the end onto a player for Square One. Doesn't even matter. It's just about them focus firing down these targets. It's going to be a little bit more difficult because Micro did end up using that rally. They get the kill though, get the point. And King, well, didn't drop his crown, that's for sure, as they now have 2 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock for Last Hope.
Yeah, I mean, just chef's kiss there for Square One, right? That duplicate was great. It's not a pick you see often, but if you get an EMP, you've gotten your money's worth out of it. Aspen doing a great job again on the Brigitte, just kind of standing in the middle of everybody as she's supposed to be, swinging around, doing her thing. Mm-hmm. And the swap to Sombra for Last Hope, I'm getting less and less impressed with it. Not because Noxious is doing poorly. I don't mean to imply that at all. No. It's just, I don't think it's the answer in these like last minute, like, oh no, we have to scramble and pick something sort of fights. You want something that can deal quick, like front-loaded damage, or create some space, or buy time, or something. And I feel like Sombra in those moments is so dependent on the follow-up from the rest of the team. But if you're playing catch-up, you don't have that follow-up. You have to do it yourself. So strategically, I don't know if I like that move from Last Hope over the course of these last couple maps, really. Mm-hmm. But there is time, and frankly, one good hack or one good EMP can really save a fight. It is so game-changing. So I respect that high-risk, high-reward style, like you mentioned, but I don't know if it's worked out for them so far.
It's definitely very high risk, and when there's, of course, Noxious ability to play on the Tracer, that's just so similar as far as play style, and can get out there a little bit quicker and has that burst potential to change the course of a fight. You do get to see it now, though, on their attack for Last Hope, but of course, they've got to try and deal with King in the air. They're actually just really going to mirror this and try and say, hey, we think we're the mechanically better team.
Yeah, and sometimes when you're kind of getting outdone by a composition, the best thing to do is to mirror it and at least have all the same tools that the other team does. and hope that you can use them better. Hoping that King does not win the 1v1 against Tree, which totally just happened. Those were very close. And frankly, at that point, you're just back out. If your last hope, just run. There's no sense here. So, a nice pick on Aspen then. Okay.
Micro goes down too, so both teams without their Brigitas, so you don't have that support player swinging in the middle of the fray. King is still patrolling the skies, and this is a soft reset for last hope.
Yeah, they're just backing up a little. They're hoping to heal everybody up and go right back in. Some nice support ultimate coming through, assuming Faded doesn't die right here. He's just running for his life somewhere random. Didn't really know what was up with that. I figured he was back with his team trying to heal. It just feels like Last Hope are trying so hard to clutch this out, when in reality they should maybe be taking a more measured approach to it. Perhaps some nerves coming through in this high-stakes match.
High stakes, high impact on whether or not you make it into contenders. Like, they need to win this for Last Hope. So the pressure is definitely mounting, and it's looking more like the pipes are bursting more than diamonds are being created. But there's still plenty of time for them to try and get themselves out of this. And Brute will come through for square one and use that gravitic flux. Not going to get a kill with it, but still damages a lot of players and slows the push down from the side of Last Hope.
Right, forcing Last Hope to really think, wait for their cooldowns, and use them as effectively as possible. The Transcendence is coming out on either side.
Transcendence on both sides. Train Cloud going to go down at the end of the Transcendence from Autumn Souls, and Last Hope now really have to take a long, hard look in the mirror and figure out what they want to do.
I mean, they're still going to try and clutch this out, and Faded getting these kills is actually so huge, and the duplicate as well. Just the extra beef on the point is worth mentioning for sure. But King in the air, they must figure it out. They have to deal with it. Down he goes.
Tree able to deal with that, and then comes down and gets the kill onto Speed. A fight that was looking so good for square one, and Last Hope, like you said, faded the difference.
A good start for sure, but Faded getting those kills and just being that chaotic, constant presence is exactly what a Wrecking Ball needs to do. The first attempt obviously didn't do too well, kind of fed, not gonna lie. But the next time around, he figured it out. He was in the right place at the right time, cleaned up those kills, and brought it back for his team. Now 3 minutes 30 on the clock for this Streets phase.
Are you really playing Wrecking Ball right, though, if you're not soft throwing?
I was kind of gonna bring that up, but I didn't know if I wanted to, because it was an especially feedy play. He was like out there with like 60 health for like a minute, and I'm like, oh buddy, that's like so much ult charge for your supports and yada yada yada. It doesn't matter now. Milky Man's doing his thing, soft throwing with style, and this cart is moving slow.
They did manage to get a couple of kills though for square one, and now they start to clean up the fight. Not able to have the same effectiveness there for Faded without the mines, but they still at least have gotten this card going. The big thing now, though, is time is not on their side.
No, it's not. They really want to be pushing through this as quickly as possible. Square one did so well to get through Street Space quickly, and that time bank that you're looking at the end for them, that 230 but the 3 points as well, is huge. So it's all Last Hope are going to be able to really keep up with that.
And now you have the duplicate and the mines coming out from square one. So now King will drop down onto the low ground, try to get aggressive, but gets pulled in quickly and goes down. Manages to get a kill onto Faded, though, before going down. So it keeps the fight even, and now you don't have that chaotic member of Last Hope coming in trying to ruin things. Transcendence going to be used by Autumn Souls. They don't want to give this fight up here yet, but they're going to go right into a Gravitic Flux. They don't have the Transcendence to keep themselves alive. Noxious the first one to go down. Train Cloud will use their Transcendence in response, or their Gravitic Flux Transcendence coming out in response, and it is going to be square one in the advantage, in the driver's seat of this fight.
Yeah, Last Hope just forced to use their ultimates out of rhythm, out of position there. That last minute cleanup kill looked pretty, but ultimately didn't do much. Faded going down early, forces out the Transcendence just to keep everyone else alive and try and clutch out a 5v6. But as soon as that's down, the Gravitic Flux comes through, there's no answer, the Tracer dies, and that fight is over. Expensive and time consuming. Less than 90 seconds on the board here. Noxious with another swap to the Sombra. Again, I have to be a little critical of this, but if he can pull out a big hack or build an EMP in this time, he will make me eat my words. So, buddy, let's see what you can do.
It's not quite at the 2 minute mark, but there's definitely more time than the last time we saw this come through from Noxious. Looking for the hack onto somebody, now just spamming out onto King in the sky. Noxious getting hit with that pulse bomb, able to translocate away So stays alive, but doesn't get to stay in the fight. And Micro goes down in the meantime, and we're down to under a minute for Last Hope.
The swap to Lucio as well instead of the Brigitte, I don't know if I agree with that. They want the quick rotation, they want to be able to come in case there's not much time, but the Brigitte's utility and CC is so important to this composition that I don't know if you can really go without it. That said, Tree getting the kill onto Speed may be proving that it's not as important as I think.
Gives them an advantage at the very least for Last Hope. Milky Man has those spines that can stall things out so they can try and get Speed back into the fight. Dropping in, throws the pile driver out, forces players away. Have King with the EMP available, only manages to catch one, but it leads to a kill, which could be pivotal. So that is a good start. Autumn Souls throwing out the Gravitic Flux. Players getting low, though, for the side of Last Hope. Down to 10 seconds left. King still in the sky, uncontested. And they are not on the cart for the side of Last Hope. Just getting there in time to start this is Faded, but Faded, the only player nearby, and Micro coming in. It's the supports by themselves, and there's a host of players of Square One that are giving themselves a 2-1 lead. Just have to clear off these players. Pulse Bomb missing will make sure that that can happen. King is just using the emotes on the cart right now. You still gotta finish the fight, man.
Hey, I mean, Last Hope will take what they can get. This is their contenders' life on the line. They cannot make it in if they win 3-2. The only other team that could make it at that point would actually be Hour Zero. So these guys have to keep this going now, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to. They're all going down. The overtime burns down. And I think, well, the sound barrier coming through to solve this out, but I'm pretty sure that is just about it.
That's all but over, at least for this fight here. So it is going to be a 2-1 lead for Square One. And like you said, the chances of them making it at 3-2 much lower than if they were to win 3-1 for Last Hope. So
it's not even lower, it's impossible. Only a 3-0 or 3-1 would get Last Hope in any way. With 2 maps down, Last Hope are out. If Last Hope managed to win 3-2 and Hour Zero 3-0, their opponents, Hour Zero, are in. Those are the only 2 cases now. Square One's in or Hour Zero's in. But Last Hope, that was their last hope.
Well, if Hour Zero loses, though?
If Hour Zero loses, then Square One is in. Period.
Well, no, I'm saying if Last Hope wins and Hour Zero loses, because they're tied as 2-2. So if Last Hope is able to beat Square One 3-2 and Hour Zero loses, they can still make it in because their map differential is the same.
See, this is why we shouldn't do live now. I trust you, though. I'm sure Twitch chat will.
It's very slim. It's very slim is the point that we're saying. Like
whatever the percentages are, you Twitch chat folks can figure this out, or YouTube, excuse me. You guys go crunch the numbers for us, and then yell at us on Twitter about it.
Square One would still make it in. You're right.
Yes.
I'm bad at remembering that there's also Square One that they would still have to jump. So you're right.
Yeah. So everyone go ahead and please draft your angry tweets to @Labosco on Twitter.
@Labosco is where you go, and you can be like, hey, you forgot about the team that's above them, idiot. You know, that sort of thing. So
be nice to the guy. We're doing our best over here. Math is wacky. This is why I got a degree in history. I'm not supposed to be doing math. It's not what I'm here for.
It's Sunday. I played a little bit too much lacrosse in my life and probably lost too many brain cells. So that's what I'm going to use as my excuse. But
I've been hit by more maps.
And our next map we know is Rialto, and King, it ain't broke, don't fix it. Play more of the Echo, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, the Echo has been doing obviously very well. We've talked about maps where she's good, map where she's not so good, and King doesn't really care. He's just going to pull it out anyways, and he's doing work on it. Rialto, though, another fantastic map for him. Frankly, a fantastic map in general. I love Rialto. So many different looks that you can show depending on the meta. So many opening picks, cool sightlines, some iconic Overwatch moments. Lots of Shock Titans games had some amazing Rialtos. So looking hopefully for another banger here. King and Tree both showing Echo. So let's see what we can do.
We get to see more of the Echo v Echo then, probably. Last Hope. I mean, Faded is back onto the Roadhog. I'm okay with seeing some potential Roadhog here.
Right. Yeah, they want to go for a brawly bit, and actually, we are hearing from production, both of these teams, I believe, were full held, or at least Last Hope was full held on the alpha yesterday. So let's. I kind of want to see more of the map than that, please. Let's not recreate that today.
Well, the one thing to remember here for Last Hope is even though their playoff spot is gone, or their contender spot, I should say, is gone, the chance to show their ability isn't. There's still the potential for teams to pick up these players while they go into the contenders limbo, and of course there's the contender trial spot that there's no more trials after this, but maybe it will count for next year. Who knows? The big thing right now is Autumn Souls is spamming from the high ground, and they are at least holding off Square One right now. Nobody's really going down on either side.
Yeah, Square One looking for some flanking picks or some sort of opening that they can punish. Tree, though, actually getting the better of Milky Man, who is probably going for a cheeky little flank. And that looks like it'll be the start of the first route here for Last Hope. Time-consuming for Square One, though they do build up towards some ultimates. They have the Pulse Bomb online ahead of Noxious, and they are ahead as well, briefly, in the main tank ultimates.
Briefly, at least for the moment, the cart is just stalled out, though. So Square One now starting to collapse. Their Pulse Bomb will miss. A good job just staying away from that. But now the dive coming in. Brute, though, is the one who pays the price for Square One. Tree's trying to swing back up to that high ground and coming back in on that duplication. It looked like the real wrecking ball there for a second. I was so confused. But it doesn't matter because Last Hope for the moment is still out in front.
It's just how good the graphics in Overwatch are, man. You can't tell the real one from the fake. It's also like the 2070s or something over there, so their graphics processors are probably crazy. Train Cloud with the Flux getting countered out and actually stunned out in the end. Milky Man getting the kill on the Autumn Souls.
And now Square One's starting to move this cart. After the ultimates get expended really from both sides, it's now about, are you going to be able to stall if you are Last Hope before that cart reaches that point? Which maybe Faded's coming through with a whole hog, but the contest finally does come through on the other end from Train Cloud, but this is still a fight that could really go to anyone. This has been really back and forth right now.
Well, super scrappy, but I think from this position, the defenders have a better spawn advantage here. That said, Square One getting some picks. They say, we don't really care. That's fine. We're just going to clean you guys up, push this last 1.55 once we get the Tracer out of the way. Faded with that whole hog in the high ground, probably trying to catch Milky Man in a corner and just solo ult him. Didn't work. Milky Man got away, and then Milky Man, I imagine, called for help, and King went and cleaned it up. Now he's surveying as Last Hope come in from their secondary spawn, going for some a little bit of spam, though he already has the duplicate.
Speaking of getting away, I don't know if you saw that out of the corner of your eye while that was going on. The Tree was able to get away from King and now is able to be in this fight right away, so they can take a much earlier contest than they otherwise would normally be able to do for Last Hope because they don't get staggered out too hard. They are trying to vie for control for that high ground with the rest of Square One. Up to the Gravitic Flux for Brute, though, and there's a lot of players grouped together, but Autumn Souls is down. Might not even need to expend the ultimate, but as I say, that Exoraph and King quickly fall, and the holding of the ultimates maybe not paying off for Square One.
No, I think they definitely wanted to try and be a little conservative. There's a lot of street space left. They kind of wanted to posture for that high ground in the neutral. But Last Hope kind of saw that hesitance, I think, and just pushed really aggressively and took the fight they wanted to take. And with Faded on that Roadhog, they have a significant advantage in a close-range, brawly fight. So good on them understanding the strategic strength of their composition.
Able to have the kill come through from the Pulse Bomb, though, for speed. So you have advantage for Square One. King is going to use the duplicate. They'll use their ultimates now and make sure that they can get this Gravitic Flux. Will force out the Transcendence, too, from Autumn Souls. So they have the Transcendence advantage here if they so choose to use it. And Brute, I don't know what Brute was trying to get with that Gravitic Flux, but it didn't hit anybody. Transcendence, though, will have to come out because it's a good Gravitic Flux from Train Cloud. Now Tree, there are 4 Gravitic Fluxes that have happened in this fight, and the one that really pays off is the one used by Tree.
The last ult is always the best ult. There's 5. Let's go. Sure, fine. This feels a lot like the Trial of Champions when we were getting quad Winstons on the field. Back when there was a lot of Sombra Reaper dive with some Echo as well. Like, that was chaos. But 5 Fluxes is definitely up there on my weird Echo plays bingo card. Of course, not as great as Yaki's triple Earthshatter on King's Row. Wink. Last Hope in a pretty good defensive position here, faded with the whole hog. It's a nice zoning tool. Speed going to be fishing for that pulse bomb, and Milkman trying to build up those mines quickly.
Down to a minute for Square One on this push. They still need to win this map. They still need to win this game. This is still important for them to make sure that they seal themselves in. They have to actually win. Don't want to give anyone else hope that they might be able to earn a spot in Contenders. Faded, using that whole hog, keeping players away. Oh, that hook into the sky. Pulls in the Wrecking Ball. Milky Man, who's able to escape away. Transcendence getting used. King is going to use Gravitic Flux, though, while in that duplicate form. I think got canceled out, though, so doesn't end up getting pushed off. But Tree fell into the water. Oh, no. King goes down, too. But, oh, it doesn't matter. Tree, your team bailed you out.
I thought trees were supposed to be buoyant. Like, don't they, like, use water to, like, move trees? This metaphor maybe doesn't hold up when it's a person here in a tree. We're in overtime right now, and they didn't even manage to...
Not in overtime. We didn't even get it.
Milky Man. It looked like he was going for it. Maybe his cooldowns just didn't quite line up.
Yeah.
We call that I think in the industry, we call that one a big unlucky.
Yeah.
Now 99.38 meters is the win condition for Last Hope to take us to a map 5. What a series this has been.
It's not... Last Hope has had trouble on this map, though. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
But their defense looked pretty good, at least after the first point. The first point was hectic, and then things settled down on the streets phase.
Right. All those fights were really back and forth, and it made them look really close. But Last Hope were consistently able to kind of weather the storm that Square One brought to bear. And Square One, I feel, never had a decisive enough series of ultimates or picks to make those fights happen without just getting stalled out on the point and having respawners come in, which is kind of the strength of the composition that Last Hope are running, right? Mm-hmm. Huge sustain, lots of just hanging out on the point and burning time, taking space, all that jazz. Now Square One, though, coming in with, I shudder to say it, an Orisa Sigma composition. I thought we were done with this. I thought we were free, but no. Milky Man back on the battle cattle, stuck in jail. King flying high above him, making him wish and think and hope for freedom. But it is not to be. Square One want to finish this. They want to bunker up. They want to hold some ground and give Last Hope their last chance.
They want to extinguish all hope that Last Hope may have, which most of it's pretty much gone anyway. But
why am I doing color if you can come up with stuff like that?
But that's why I'm play-by-play, because I can set up what you're going to say in ways like that.
I'll allow it. Carry on.
One thing that's being set up for sure is the high ground control that Last Hope is vying for. They've been able to force players off of the high ground, at least for the moment. And Straight Cloud will get pulled down, but they did get control of that for the moment, and then Speed will make him pay as soon as he falls down. And Last Hope, well, they're being pushed back.
Man, and Tracer Echo is just, and Speed in general, I must say, has been having the series of a lifetime here. Just doing so well, so consistent. And the damage, the burst you can make happen when one CC goes off onto a target when you have an Echo and a Tracer is insane. So 71% because of some awesome fallout from Speed. Tree, though, also pretty close to a duplicate himself here on this attack. So we'll see what they can make of that as we kind of get into the first ult fights of this round.
Actually significantly outpacing King, too, by about 20%. So a pretty good advantage. There's the hook in, and the kill on to Brood. And now Tree is duplicated to Sigma, and now they've got a 2 Sigma advantage in the fight. And now the Gravitic Flux to try and get King won't work, but throw those Hyperspheres out. You still have been able to at least push close to that checkpoint.
Right, you're buying a lot of space with that Flux. You're buying a lot of space with an extra Sigma on the field. He is very good at that. There's a reason he's been so popular since he was released, and why Echoes always duplicate him. Tree getting that first pick on the Milky Man, though, before the Transcendence, that's big.
They don't even get a chance to get there for a touch for the side of Square One. Last Hope still pushing across this bridge, effectively taking and dismantling Square One.
Wow, okay, so Tree heard me kind of hyping up Speed, and apparently is quite upset by that because he is on a tear. He is like lapping King right now in ult charge. He is beating out the Tracers that are supposed to have like the fastest charging ultimate in the game, and he is consistently, I think the past 3 fights, he's gotten at least 2 or 3 kills, if not more. Fantastic work from him, and Last Hope are showing that they still want this. I have, of course, cursed him terribly. I'm sorry.
Square One not done yet themselves and will be able to clean up this fight and stall that card out before it gets too far. But this is, you can win one fight here and you probably win the map if you're the side of Last Hope.
Right, and that can come at any time within the next 3.5 minutes. And Last Hope, look at their ultimates. They have 5. And in a long fight, Autumn Souls will definitely get that extra 30-something%. It's already climbing as I get through this sentence. Meanwhile, Square One, they have the tank ult. A supercharged Gravitic Flux could be deadly without that Transcendence, but they must act decisively here.
Gravitic Flux coming through, pulls a player in, Train Cloud goes down. Advantage early on to Square One. Tree will use the duplicate onto the Orisa, give themselves an extra tank in this fight so they can get onto this cart and start to try and get this, especially with a supercharger down now too. If you can just get some more damage onto those players, can't stay alive with Tree. Transcendence gets forced out too. Milky Man now has the option to throw the supercharger down and clean this up if they want. They might not even have to use it. Gravitic Flux will pull them into the air. Exorath will use the Transcendence in response. Faded will use the whole hog, pushing away. It's another whole hog on the other side from King, pushing away on the Echo. Loses out on that. Neither side really winning out on those those whole hog fights. And it's now the cart moving, but players getting low on the side of Last Hope.
Super tradey, lots of ultimates back and forth here, but the later ultimates are usually the more effective. Square One so far getting ahead in that battle. They're holding on to more. They still have the tank ultimates, the rally coming online, and they're getting the picks. 2 minutes here, though, for Last Hope. That's the advantage that first point attack has given them. Because, yeah, they had a huge ult advantage there, and they used just about everything to try and break that point and failed. But they still have 2 minutes, which is generally accepted as the amount of time to build up an ult advantage. So they have one more chance, if they're smart, to come into this to pull resources from Square One, build up some of their own. Faded now on the Orisa himself, saying, all right, if we're going to go back to this meta, we're going to go back to this meta, but I am not happy about it.
It is still something that allows them to have an opportunity to win this map. Plenty of time, and Noxus with that pulse bomb already ready. If Noxus just hits like a really good pulse bomb, that could be it.
Absolutely.
That could be it, enough to end it.
Yeah, I mean, but he's got, that's a lot of pressure to put on him. And meanwhile, Speed has one of his own, a Milky Man with the supercharger and Aspen with a rally. Never mind, Tree doesn't care. Let's go.
Uses the duplicate to get on to the Sigma, loses it immediately, but the damage has already been done. 2 players fall for Square One, and now you lose King too. Pulse Bomb gets thrown in, forcing those players back. Well, they got to get to the cart, because if they don't, this is going to be another map 1 for Last Hope. Transcendence and used in desperation from Exorath. Supercharger thrown down too. They've got to win the fight here for Square One. Milky Man, his supercharger lost. The Tracer getting in for that, and a huge flux from Train Cloud will even this up at 2-2. Just have to clean up this DPS that are left.
Yep. Nice and cleaned. It looked for a second like Square One were going to be able to bring in the cavalry, bring in that supercharger, and the battle cattle charging valiantly into battle. But it was not to be. Tree was way too hot right there, way too much front-loaded damage coming through from Last Hope, and despite their chances of making contenders being out the window, these guys want to go down swinging, and we are going to map 5.
Yeah, so we have ourselves our map number 5. We'll take a quick timeout, and then we'll come back for that 5th and final map. See who can win. Square One, do they seal themselves into Trials, or Last Hope? Play spoiler.
So you queue up for Overwatch Ranked, only to be greeted by this, which then leads to this. And, oh no, Reinhardt, what are you doing? The solution? Elo Hell pickup games.
Hey, you know what? Just
Oh my god, it's huge! Oh, no! Kill! Let's go!
Open to players of all ranks and most platforms, Pugs give you the chance to experience competitive Overwatch as it was meant to be played. Competitively.
I need help.
I'm with you.
Shoot.
No way, dude.
Go. Let's go. Nice. Good call.
Players set their icons to indicate the role they want to play, then two captains pick their teammates and draft the most competitive teams they can. You can also take part in our pioneering learning event, Coached Pugs. To take part, join the Elo Hell Pickup Games Discord, and be sure to read the Pug Guide and FAQ. Good luck, have fun, and we'll see you in-game.
A pivotal map 5 coming here between Last Hope and Square One. Labosco here alongside Thibbledork. Square One need to win to get into contenders. They had trouble on the last control that we played, Thibble. Last Hope, they have to feel good about their chances of playing spoiler here and really putting the pressure on Hour Zero of whether or not they can earn themselves a spot into contenders.
Absolutely. Yeah. Last Hope, to kind of break down what's at stake here, Last Hope no longer have a chance to make it into contenders. They had to 3-0 or 3-1, and we're going to map 5. So no such luck for Last Hope. However, if they win an Hour Zero 3-0, 200 MS when they play, I guess after this, then Hour Zero make it into contenders, which again, not really fully in anyone's hands. There's a lot of cards that have to kind of shuffle around to make those things happen. And if Square One pull it out here on Ilios, there's nothing more to talk about.
Well, and just to kind of give you a little bit of how Contenders Trials has gone for the side of 200 MS to see if they will be 3-0'd by Hour Zero, they've only been 3-0'd once. And the team that 3-0'd them was Last Hope.
Interesting. Ooh, that's really interesting. I know you were bringing up, because 200 MS are a team, an all-Korean team playing in North America,
Yes.
their maps have been decided largely by how many maps they play on their own servers versus North American servers, where their ping obviously is a massive disadvantage. So that coin flip is honestly pretty key. That could decide contenders as is. But, of course, again, if Square One bring it out here, we don't have to worry about that at all. Square One with one last chance to seal the deal. On the Newton's Cradle composition, Tree actually now holding on to the Echo instead of King, who is on the Tracer while Spee is on the Soldier.
See how this makes a difference. Ruins a map where there is some decent sightlines for the Echo to play in, but when you have a Soldier 76, it can be a little bit difficult for anybody in the sky. So far, the teams are on opposite sides of the map, coming swinging in. Missing with that pile driver was Faded, goes down to the Helix rocket of Speed. King following up with the kill onto Tree, and now you're looking like you're in a very good start for this position for the side of Square One.
Faded kind of coming around on the broadside, feeding himself over to the enemy team like Pumbaa with that apple in his mouth in that one scene from The Lion King. You frankly hate to see it, because I saw what he was trying to do. If he had run through and knocked the entire team around, he could have gotten a boot kill, really turned that fight. But that high risk, high reward is really emblematic of Wrecking Ball play in this meta. And Square One are on top of things. They smell blood. They want this game really bad. Spee and King are lighting it up right now. Their ult charge is huge.
They don't want to put their hopes on a team that's playing on 200 ping. I think is what Square One wants to do. So
I don't think I would either.
Exactly. So win now, and then you don't have to worry about it. They've done at least the first part of that plan, which is take control of the point first. They have the ultimate advantage now too. When they decide to expend it is going to be the question. They're already up to 43%. Milky Man coming in with the pile driver, throwing players into the air, and Spee using the visor in response too. Doesn't get a kill onto anybody, but still the damage done to players is so much that they can't get aggressive forward. And Faded, while retreating, goes down. They have to run away now for Last Hope. And now they might only have one more fight left once they're fully back together.
Right, but it will be a pretty good fight. Look at the ultimates coming online soon for Last Hope. If they just take a little time to build up those support ultimates and the tank ultimates too, frankly, this will be a pretty solid fight for them, but they need to make it count because this is their last best chance here on Ruins.
They'll have double-barreled support ultimates, but Autumn Soul goes down to King at the beginning. King!
Nope.
King on the Tracer, 2 kills. We don't even get to see it on the screen because it's happening in the back line. You don't expect the Tracer to just pop off like that so quickly, but that's exactly what King did.
One more chance, 80% and counting. They didn't use anything there. They have everything they need to get this point captured. Try not to be too expensive, but make this happen. You have to go.
You're going to have Gravitic Fluxes get used. You're going to have the rallies used on either side. Visor going to come out through. Axarath and Speed go down. Gravitic Flux coming out in response on the other end from Brute. Not going to do a whole lot. Speed going down. They don't have a lot left here to hold on to this for Square One. Expensive fight, though, for both teams, but it will be Last Hope grabbing that once it gets to 99%.
Yeah, they do manage to do it. With all those tools in the bank, they do force the capture. Good. However, that was really expensive for Last Hope, and they have to hold the entire rest of this round to win. They have no Transcendence, they have no Gravitic Flux, they have no Visor or Pulse Bomb. Square One are close to the Mines and the Visor, and kind of the Transcendence depending on how much extra Wrath decides to pop off here. But that's still an advantage for Square One in an extended fight when all Square One has is time.
Well, the Mines are going to keep them from advancing for the moment for Square One. They move around towards that right side. Have one player getting a little bit low in King, who's playing on that flank. Hasn't been able to find any of those kills like we saw King Probe for earlier. Doing a much better job of fending off the Tracer, but now Speed is going to pop that Visor immediately. Force is faded away. Aspen actually getting the kill at the end, forcing that Wrecking Ball off the point, and they're going to clean this up, throw the Mines on to the point, try and contest that if you can, if you're Last Hope, but it's going to be... A tree just jumped right into a mine instead, and the overtime meter's going to tick away.
Yep. Yeah, that's this round for sure. Last Hope on that one fight where they had all the tools in the toolbox. They just kind of grabbed all their 9mm wrenches and chucked them. And that's great. You might deal a lot of damage with that, but then you have no more wrenches. And then they have the wrenches, and they throw them back at you, but harder that time. Hurts, yeah. I don't know where that metaphor was going, but Square One win off of Ult Economy. That's what I was trying to say. And now Last Hope, this is for real, their Last Hope, because they got to fight. They are on match point, not Contenders point anymore, but spoiler point, we'll call it. Like, this is where the rubber hits the road. Autumn Soul's on the Mercy, perhaps, giving Tree a little extra oomph. Micro on the Lucio, I don't know about that after the last time I saw it, but they're going to try what they can try, or maybe he's just using that for the speed boost and then he'll swap.
It is Contenders point, though, for Square One, and that's what matters most for them. And they are going to go with a composition we've seen them do before. We just saw them play it, basically, except now they've got the Diva, so that Diva can try and contest a little bit in the sky with the Echo, who does have that Mercy. So Tree playing on the ground right now, though, not going into the sky just yet, waiting for that opportunity to get aggressive with that Mercy pocket, just poking and prodding at the high ground. Noxious is getting into position, so maybe going to try and work together. Milky Man goes down to Train Cloud, though, at the beginning, so they lose out on that for Square One. And Square One, they don't really even get to fight effectively at the beginning to even try and put a plan of action together, as Last Hope doesn't even allow that to happen.
Right, I feel like Square One set up on that high ground expecting Tree to be kind of like raining down and doing those things Echoes do, but he was using the natural cover of that pagoda instead in the center to really just not have to worry about all the poke damage, and that got them that first capture. Of course, Milky Man comes in and just says, no, actually, we kind of wanted to win that fight, if you don't mind. And here we go for the early swap.
Well, Speak killed the Echo and the Mercy in the sky. Like, they lost that fight, but then they just had a soft reset, and that's what ends up winning them it at the end. They weren't able to deal with that Soldier 76 to any great effect, and now there's so many ultimates coming up for Square One. Last Hope, it does have the ult advantage, though, with all of their ultimates starting to really come online, but they lose Micro to the Helix Rockets of Spee. Spee on the Soldier 76 gets another kill.
Spee is done. Spee wants to go eat. Spee wants to go take a nap. Spee is tired. of this match. He wants it to be over. He is just gonna mess with you in the neutral. He doesn't care about your ult advantage. He doesn't care about your airborne heroes. Those aren't even really the people he's gonna focus on. At least in that fight, he is turning up. Square One with the big ults coming online. Lots of Qs to press on either side here. Square One have the point control, and this is Contenders' point. They are motivated.
Up to 52% for Square One, trying to get themselves back into Contenders. Tree coming in with the duplicate. Speed answering with the visor in turn. Mines being dropped down that you have to try and test with as well. Have the self-destruct thrown. Tree gets the kill onto Speed. Soldier 76 down, and Square One loses out on one of their supports too. Last Hope taking back and fighting for control at this point. It's up to 73% for Square One. They're stalling for as much percentage as they can. They want this to be last fight territory for them, where they only need to win one fight.
And it looks like it's 82%. It's right on that line, right? It depends on how quick the fight goes. If Last Hope end up flipping but get a really quick regroup, it's possible. Thank you, Noxious, for spraying so that's symmetrical on the pillar. I was about to really make a point about that, but I am actually quite a fan of that. Last Hope just scrabbling here. The pull spawn could be clutch, but that's a lot of pressure to put on one guy, and Train Cloud being melted right now. He's got to get away, and Autumn Souls is down.
Autumn Souls going down means you lose out on your res. You lose out on so much healing too. The pocket not going to be as effective, and now they can just focus down these players as they start to come on to point. They have the advantage with Tree going down too. Speed can just come on to the point and just blast away at anyone who comes in. It's up to 90% for Square One. They're so close to sealing their fate into Contenders.
It's just a matter of how quick Last Hope can get back on point. 95% we're crossing now, but they need to come in as a group. They cannot trickle on, or this match is as good as over. Faded already down.
They had two players there. It wasn't enough, though. Milky Man just going into ball form. The kills coming in for Square One. The mine's in the way. You can't really get on the point if you're Last Hope, and their last grasp at trying to stop Square One from getting in Contenders is over. They'll get a res to stall it out a little bit more, but this is all Square One. Overtime meter will go away quickly once they get these players off, which they've gotten a bunch of players back at the very least for Last Hope, but that's it. They can't stay on the point long enough, and Square One seals their ticket in to Contenders.
So congratulations to Square One, making it back into the big leagues where many argue you belong and where you have proven you have belonged. Fantastic last round, I think, from them. Ilios in general was a clinic. Spee, I must shout out again because he was wiping the floor so consistently. But before I really wax poetic about this team and how well they've done and all that jazz, we're going to go to a quick break and then come back with an interview.
See you in a few. We welcome you back here for Contenders Trials. It is a 3-2 victory for Square One, who seal their fate into Contenders. And we are now joined by King, one of the DPS for the side of Square One. And first off, congrats on making it in. And it seemed like you guys had a really good game plan for how you wanted to attack Last Hope. What about the composition with the Echo really worked for you guys?
Thanks. I mean, we kind of just like Echo's kind of broken right now, and it kind of just counters like half the comps that like people play in trials. So we just decided just start with it, just keep running it. But we had to adjust like towards the end and stuff like that. So that's what happened. Yeah.
Okay. I'm reviewing, excuse me if I'm a little quiet. I'm reviewing an interview I actually did with you long ago and far away. When you were on Sky Foxes. My previous claim to fame, as small as it was as a journalist. It's been a long time, obviously. What would you say has changed or improved, you know, kind of about your experience in general since the last time we talked?
Probably winning. That's like brand new to me, being on
That's a good
Square One since Sky Foxes, but that's kind of evidential. But I don't know, just all the people you meet through all the teams are pretty nice. But yeah, just it's honestly just winning, like not going, just winless. But yeah, so far so good.
Safe to say that helps in a big way, developing that camaraderie and being friendly with your teammates. Sure.
Yeah.
Now that you guys are headed back into Contenders, there's been kind of this back and forth here. This is kind of, at least as far as Labasco and I know, like one of the last chances for you to show your stuff, young as you are, here in Contenders this year. What are your goals getting back in there and kind of proving yourself?
Probably just improve more. I still have to like a lot I can work on, and trials is like super fast, so it's like pretty rough to try or like just like try different stuff and get better. But I mean, mostly just improve my play and just gel more with the team. But yeah, mostly that.
To that end, you talked about earlier about how you guys had to kind of change up on the fly what you were doing. Was that something you were prepared to do, or was that completely on the fly?
We were prepared to do it. We always like try to adjust the team, but like some things happen, like Brute not getting a person in his flex and like stuff like it's like unadjustable, but we still work around it and it goes well. So yeah, especially at the end, we swapped the comp up and it worked.
Yeah. We at the start of this match, we did a lot of complicated and probably incorrect math about who had to win or lose and by how much for you guys to make it in. Was that something you guys were really keeping track of, or did you just walk into this like, yeah, we got to win, let's just go?
Kinda. Mostly just like we shouldn't lose any of our matches, at least some of it. But yeah, this match was basically like winner, like Contenders or not, like we shouldn't lose. So just like try really hard. But we knew if we won this match, like no matter what, we would have been Contenders. But obviously it was like, yeah, already known.
Got it.
Well, you guys did it. You made it in, and congrats on that. Thibble, anything else?
My usual last question is just if you have anyone to shout out or say thank you to before we let you go.
Shout out to Empress and Feichel for helping us a lot. Feichel came in like recently, and he's like actually a lot of help to the team, so I want to give him props for that. And same with Alwyn for like being a dude, and that's about it.
For being a dude. That's a dancing minion gif if I ever saw one. All right, my man.
For sure. Thanks so much, King, for giving us this time, and good luck in Contenders.
Yeah, thank you.
That's going to do it for game number 1, but we've got one more that we have left here for you tonight. We've got Antico versus Drifters coming up next, trying to determine who's going to be the top of that group. We'll see you for that one here in a little bit.
Academy, they lay down the shatter, let the bodies hit the floor. Uprising Academy at 95%.
Right now with Hydra building up to this Bear Barrage so quickly.
Oh!
And asking!
Double kill in the back with the pulse bomb from the high ground. Aerial assault with that mine.
Impact se escucha de abajo gritar campeón a Sky Foxes.
Holy cow.
And after 42 consecutive losses, the Shanghai Dragons get their first win.
8 teams enter this weekend.
Oh no, Reinhardt, what are you doing?
We got a clip with minimal information. It's time to break it down. Speed, 25%. Go. Figure out what this man's SR is.
Keep fighting until it's for sure lost. Winnable!
So you queue up for Overwatch Ranked, only to be greeted by this, which then leads to this, and oh no, Reinhardt, what are you doing? The solution? Elo Hell pickup games.
Hey, you know what? Just
Oh my god, it's huge! Oh, no! Kill! Let's go!
Open to players of all ranks and most platforms, Pugs give you the chance to experience competitive Overwatch as it was meant to be played, competitively.
I need help.
I'm with you.
Shoot.
No way, dude.
Go. Let's go. Nice. Good call.
Players set their icons to indicate the role they want to play, then 2 captains pick their teammates and draft the most competitive teams they can. You can also take part in our pioneering learning event, Coached Pugs. To take part, join the Elo Hell Pickup Games Discord, and be sure to read the Pug Guide and FAQ. Good luck, have fun, and we'll see you in-game.
I'm gonna give 5 subs for each one I get wrong. Let's go watch the Mercy. That Mercy's got balls of steel.
Did you know? Our statistics show that everyone not subbed is actually a hard-stuck bronze player. The more you know. And if you'd like to be a part of any of our videos, become a YouTube member today. More info is in the description.
So everyone in here is gonna be like gold to low diamond or in that range. And we're trying to find the 2 GMs. We can watch the Ana first. And we're gonna watch them walk out because I feel like GM players do a lot of little APM movements when they're coming out of spawn. Like when I'm on Winston, I shoot, reload, punch, shoot, reload, punch. It's a little APM thing. Okay, so starting on the high ground. Okay, they gave it up. Also, remember this looks like it's the last patch, so it's Hog Zarya. So chat, we're gonna watch a little bit of the Ana. We're gonna watch a little bit of everybody. So Ana's playing very safe here. This is good positioning. This is exactly where the Ana should be positioned. Not sure if I would have naded myself if I was an Ana player. So maybe I think this is probably I don't think this is him. It could be though. It actually could be. No, it's actually, this is perfect positioning. Mercy looked like she was busy. Okay. I'm gonna say I'm a little sus. I'm a little sus of this Ana. I'm a little sus. Let's go watch the Mercy. That Mercy's got balls of steel. Now I'm already extra sus of the Mercy now. I'm sus. I am sus of the Mercy. The good movement there to move around the pillar to get out of the LOS.
Where does it hurt?
Chat, by the way, I forgot to mention, I'm gonna give 5 subs for each one I get wrong. So if I get one wrong, you guys are getting 5 subs, If I get both wrong, you guys get 10 subs. If I get no wrong, you guys get no subs. Okay, I'm less sus now. I'm less sus. Okay. Let's watch the next one.
A speedy recovery. Objective lost.
Let's watch the Echo.
Going free.
Okay. Okay, I don't think it's the Echo so far.
Taking off.
Okay. I don't believe it's the Echo. I'm not gonna lie, this is a hard one. I don't think it's the Echo though so far. Let's watch Junk. Next fight, next fight. Okay, I definitely don't think it's the Junkrat. So I don't think it's the Junkrat because the way he moves his mouse is very slow. And he's not like snapping onto targets very well. Like he's just kind of, I don't know how else to say it other than like, GM players, I feel like are constantly looking around them, like their surroundings as they're getting in and out of fights. It doesn't feel like that here. So I'm gonna say I don't think it's the Junkrat. This is a good spot though. This is a good spot. I'm gonna watch some of the Zarya now. The Zarya plays with extreme confidence. It's the Zarya. The Zarya is the Smurf. Def not the Zarya, def it is the Zarya. Zarya is holding really high charge. Her tracking's pretty good. No fear on grabbing the Mercy. At all. I'm very confident it's the Zarya. I'm very confident that it's the Zarya. Chance, this is gonna be the end of it. I'm gonna rewind after, but I'm gonna watch a little bit more of the Zarya. Leaves her sleep. Leaves it for somebody else. It's the Zarya. I'm very oh. Track their doom. Okay, I'm gonna back it up. I'm gonna back it up a little bit. Good with the right clicks too. It's 100% the Zarya. Watch this. You want me to know how I know it's the Zarya? He hears the ball coming.
Where does it hurt?
Right here. Watch. Heard the ball coming in that way. He almost timed that. It's 100%. It's got to be the Zarya. Right? I feel like they play on very high, I feel like they play on very high sensitivity. But their tracking is still pretty good. And they get out with energy. Okay, I'm gonna lock it in. I think it's the Zarya. I think it's the Zarya. Alright, chat, I'm gonna start it over. I wanna watch from the beginning of their team. Okay? The Crusher 99, huh? I'm gonna say no. Already, I'm saying no because typically good GM Widows that I see when they hookshot out of here, they hookshot up here so they can get this launch and they take this angle. They didn't do that, so I'm already gonna say I don't think it's them. Just off of that, but we're gonna watch some more, of course. Good positioning. If I didn't see that first Widow shot, I'd say that this is a candidate. I'm gonna trust my gut, and I'm gonna say it's not the Ashe. Let's watch the Ana. I think the Ana looks pretty good from the other point of view. I'm heavy sus on the Ana. Saves him from the pull. The aggressive nade. The good sleep. This is my number one thing. My number one right now for red team. I also realized we didn't watch the hog on blue team. I watched blue team's hog really quick. To give him a look. I'm very confident though it's the Zarya. Was I wrong? I don't think I was wrong. No, I wasn't wrong. I feel like this guy's a main tank player though, because he's kind of scared to peek because he doesn't have a shield. It's definitely not him. All right, back to red team. Let's watch a little bit of the Mercy. So I'm pretty much 100% it's the Zarya from red team. Sorry, blue team. Blue team Zarya. How often can they super jump? Both of red team support players are really good. Honestly, it was a good play, but they countered it with grab. I'm Moira now. It's the Moira. It's 110% the Moira. I'm convinced. We're gonna watch the rest. We're gonna watch the other DPS and their tanks one more time. But I'm already convinced it's the Moira. This is textbook GM in a low-level game. Textbook. He's Nolan. He's playing like Nolan. He's literally Moira on the flank, going for your backline. This is literally Nolan's ult account. Yeah, 110%. I'm convinced. I am gonna watch the DPS and the tanks though, just to be sure. We watch the Widow. Let's watch the Sombra. We'll watch a little bit of the Sombra, and then their tanks, and then I'll make my final guess.
I'm out of here.
Very high sensitivity. Doesn't seem to have the control of it so far. Right, he just keeps running into those mines. I'm gonna say it's not the Sombra. Yeah, definitely not the Sombra. Definitely not Sombra. Let's watch Ball. Ball dead. Come on, Chonky, show me what you got. Honestly, I'm such a bad Ball player, I'll probably think he's GM. Big pile drive. This literally looks like me playing Ball. Looks GM to me. Alright. I'm gonna watch one more fight of the Ball, but I don't think it's the Ball so far. Good mechanics, though. Good mechanics on the Ball. If his mechanics, you know, if I didn't know who it was already on this team, if I didn't already think it was the Mercy, I'd be I'd be tempted to say that his mechanics are pretty good. I wouldn't say, like, his engages aren't very good, and he gets scared very easily, but mechanically he's good. Let's watch the hog for a little bit now. I'm tempted to say it's not the hog so far. Didn't even mean to hit him. Rolling at 2-8 with 2 bullets. No, that's not the hog. I mean, to be fair, if it's a main tank playing hog, I mean, I do that. He's actually doing pretty well. Rough start, but it's kind of recovered. Red team's just kind of stacked, to be honest. They aren't off-roll, but main tank played hog in the previous meta. Watch it a little bit more, because I'm a little sus. I'm a little sus of the hog. I'm pretty sure it's the Mercy though. I'm pretty sure it's the Mercy, but yeah, that's all I needed to see. All right, I'm done watching the hog. All right, chat. I am ready to make my guesses. I'm ready to make my guesses. I think it is Glemdal, the Zarya on blue team, and I think it's Scrimcastic, the Mercy on red team. Now, chat, if I'm wrong, for each one I'm wrong, I will gift you 5 subs. I'm pretty sure we got it. Let's go, dude! Let's fucking go! I'm so good at this. I'm so good at this. I'm actually so good at this. Chat, I'm sorry, but you guys aren't getting any subs. I'm sorry. I'm just too good at it. I'm too good at it, chat. Sorry. Nah, honestly, this hog looked really good. The Ana looked really good. That was honestly really close. That was actually really close. Thanks so much, Elo Hell. Oh, before that, I want to say thank you to Elo Hell for Elo Hell Esports for
I'm gonna sub anyway. You can't.
3rd time's the charm. I want to thank Elo Hell Esports for having me. This was actually a lot of fun. That was actually kind of close. That was kind of close. The Zarya I'd say was kind of obvious because of how confident he played. But red team was stacked. Red team was pretty stacked. If you don't know who I am, my name is Flats. I stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/Flats. Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast. I hope I can do another one soon. This was a blast.
Academy, they lay down the shatter, let the bodies hit the floor. Uprising Academy at 95%.
Right now with Hydra building up to this Bear Barrage so quickly.
Oh!
And asking!
Double kill in the back with the pulse bomb from the high ground. Aerial assault with that mine.
Impact se escucha debajo gritar campeón a Sky Foxes.
Holy cow.
And after 42 consecutive losses, the Shanghai Dragons get their first win.
8 teams enter this weekend.
Oh no, Reinhardt, what are you doing?
We got a clip with minimal information. It's time to break it down. Speed, 25%. Go. Figure out what this man's SR is.
Keep fighting till it's for sure lost. Winnable!
So you queue up for Overwatch Ranked, only to be greeted by this, which then leads to this, and oh no, Reinhardt, what are you doing? The solution? Elo Hell pickup games.
Hey, you know what? Just
Oh my god, it's huge! Oh! Kill, 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 kill! Let's go, let's go, let's go!
Open to players of all ranks and most platforms, Pugs give you the chance to experience competitive Overwatch as it was meant to be played. Competitively.
I need help, I need help.
I'm with you, I'm with you.
Shoot.
No way, dude.
Go. Let's go. Nice. Good call.
Players set their icons to indicate the role they want to play, then 2 captains pick their teammates and draft the most competitive teams they can. You can also take part in our pioneering learning event, Coached Pugs. To take part, join the Elo Hell Pickup Games Discord, and be sure to read the Pug Guide and FAQ. Good luck, have fun, and we'll see you in-game.
We welcome you back here for Contenders Trials North America. It's Labosco and Thibodeau getting ready for our final match of the night. It is Drifters versus Antico. Both these teams, 4-0 Thibault at the top of the group, have sealed their ticket already to Contenders, but now it's about pride. It's about who is going to be the team at the top. And right now, we should have a good one to figure that out.
Yeah, this is for all the marbles, number 1 seed. These guys have done really well. Everyone else in the group has fallen by the wayside to these teams. Not much else to discuss there. This is the last match of the last day, after all. It's really down to the matchup between the two of them, both having some fantastic rosters. Drifters really a collection of ridiculous and amazing talent that have been around for quite a while. And Anteiku, these really like rising stars. I casted them in another tournament not too long ago, and in the first round of that tournament, they all swapped roles and just absolutely smacked the tar out of the other team because they were that confident. And you do not see that often in Overwatch, no matter how far apart the matchup is. So it's an electric rising team against this old guard squad.
And just thinking about it for Antico too, they have been a team that have come onto the scene taking it by storm, but also there are a couple of players that people may remember, whether or not they're going to be playing or not, like Zemrit, but still names that people should maybe know if they have seen these teams play before. But as far as our starters for today, we can see that Kami and Dusk will be the tanks for Antico, Pascal and Vega for the supports, and then Biz is going to be one of those DPS, and then it's Delilah, I believe is the correct way to say it, even though it's not spelled that way. Or at least that's what they put down.
Yeah, I mean, Pig Latin, I suppose, is a legitimate language somewhere. I'll avoid messing up that name, even though it will definitely happen over the course of the series. And I kind of want to talk about Kami versus Decod, the main tank matchup here, the Wrecking Ball being so integral in these matchups. Reinhardt, we see a little bit of here and there, and even unfortunately a little Orisa. So Decod has been this titan on Team Norway, on Triumph, on Drifters. Like, he has been around the block, and he is so good. So Kami really has his work cut out for him. But if anyone, it seems, in this group is going to give him a match, it's going to be the main tank from Anteiku.
And we know that main tank is one of the most important positions in Overwatch, and it's been a much different position as of late because you think about the Wrecking Ball being such an integral part, and then also you have the Roadhog, which I don't think people really think about the main tank being the person playing that, but a lot of teams have been implementing the main tank as the person playing that, and then usually the off tank plays, Diva or the Sigma, or you can switch that role too, of course, as well. But it really just depends on what you have available on your team.
Right. It's who's the best on the two heroes that you need. So for Decod and Icy's Sigma and Diva are both fantastic and pretty much always have been. And so Decod is on Roadhog duty. So Icy's Roadhog is also pretty good. He is generally, this kind of main tank individual specialist, the Winston, Reinhardt, Orisa trifecta, but the Wrecking Ball and the Roadhog in this meta have kind of wormed their way into that role, and it's sometimes a very fluid role that you must be flexible in. And Decod has struggled at times, self-admittedly, but also kind of throughout still been pretty consistent overall. Meanwhile, Kami kind of in this newer team, these rising stars, not as much experience in like past metas from 2 years ago and wacky stuff like that, has really been comfortable in these disruptive, crazy, flexible metas. And that might actually give Anteiku, in my eyes, a bit of an edge.
Well, we know the maps that we're going to already. It's the same as what we just saw in the last game. Oasis, Hanamura, Eichenwald, Rialto, and Ilios. And when you think about Oasis, like, we know the Wrecking Ball will definitely get played here, but you can play the Orisa on certain maps. You can play other things. You can make the Winston work. There are some high ground, like, a map like Gardens. Maybe you can play the Winston, but more than likely, we're going to see the Roadhog. We're probably going to see the Wrecking Ball on Oasis.
Yeah, I mean, 90% of the round, you're probably going to see Wrecking Ball. Roadhog on like Gardens is not unheard of. We just saw it in our last match. And even some Orisa on University is not unheard of, or some Ryan Zarya. Like, it's really cool because there's such a wealth of options, and we see so many different takes on the meta, which is definitely not actually solidified in any way at this level. So it's about what these teams feel confident on, right? Like, our drifters, is DCOD really feeling it on the hog, or are they going to go Ryan Zarya, let's brawl straight through them? And if so, do Antico have the answer for that? Do they have to kind of scramble and not expect drifters to pull out those sorts of picks? Or will they prove that a Newton's Cradle sort of composition or a Roadhog Sigma is kind of the way that you must play the game right now?
And we haven't talked about the variety yet of the DPS as well, where there's a lot of options that you can see be played. I mean, Fi and Razor specifically as the two for drifters, we know that there's probably a good amount of heroes that both of those can show and show on really well.
Oh yeah, tons of flexibility between them. Fi is a phenomenal hit scan talent, good probably both on the Tracer and the Soldier. Razor, just an all-around great flex projectile, multi-tool specialist. We see plenty of Torbjorn actually from him. He is one of my favorites for some good hammer kills. Also got a sweet Hanzo 6K back in the Mayhem Winter Classic last year, which is a shining moment for me back when he was on Revival. And that guy really, he's a super flashy player. So yeah, lots of options there for drifters.
A lot of options though for Antico as well, though. I mean, this is a team that really has risen through the ranks pretty quickly to get to this point, and drifters look like one of the stronger teams that we're seeing in this trials as well that they get to go against. I mean, they only lost one map throughout their run so far.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we kind of go back and forth on which team we think is going to pull out an edge at this role or that role. But at the end, when we get down to it, these are both two amazing teams. And I expect nothing less than a super close banger of a match. I want someone to touch the spawn door at some point just for funsies. I want a hammer kill. I feel if I'm going to get a little greedy and start asking for a bunch of things, it's during this game. Two hugely talented, very prepared teams just throwing the heaviest punches they can at one another.
Yeah, it's going to be one that should be really fun to see between these two. Obviously, we already know they're both getting into contenders, and maybe this is just a preview for what we might see from them in contenders. Of course, they could just decide to kind of hide everything too and maybe not show anything else. That is also an option. So maybe what we see is two teams that decide to experiment in this. That's always a possibility too when you've already sealed everything.
Right. Yeah, there's precedent for that happening across Tier 2 and even in the Overwatch League. Before 222 was implemented, a lot of teams just started to experiment, pull away from Ghost because they knew it was coming. Now, with both of these teams secured for contenders, you're absolutely right. You know, I was asking for hammer kills and all this wacky stuff. Maybe they do that. Right. Maybe they do that not because it's going to be a crazy competitive, high-stakes, prideful game, but because it's going to be an absolute clown fiesta where both teams don't really care and they're just throwing out whatever they want.
Speaking of that, DCOD, I think, was the one who posted a tweet of their clinching contenders moment, and they were running a composition. I think they were running a Bastion Symmetra comp.
Yeah, I mean, it has its place. You know, shout out Liam Overwatch for developing the kind of Telebastion strategies, especially on maps like Kings Row and other crazy places like that. So it has its place. That said, not seeing that here. Looks like we have a Tracer Echo for Drifters and then a Sombra Echo for Anteiku. So lots of airborne fights coming through soon.
Yeah, here on University, you can see that Anteiku is going to the high ground first and at least have control of it for the moment, but now backing away over onto that other side of the map, trying to stay grouped together. Very close for the Echo there, but able to stay alive. Biz, in the meantime, looking for a target to hack, just spamming out onto the point. It seems like Drifters have a little bit more of the presence, at least for the moment, and Biz almost died to DCOD, who dropped right on top of him.
Yep, good collapse there, but the Tracer, right until Fi went down, he was providing a little extra damage. Now with that opening secured for Anteiku, they want to move in, make the most of their hacks and their mobility to cap this point first, and that's exactly what they did.
So, Antico will strike first, and they've got control, but there is still an opportunity here for Drifters to come back in.
Right, a longer, kind of extended first fight there. Fi building up towards the pulse bomb really quickly, well ahead of either other DPS, and Razor actually behind Delilah there in the duplicate battle. Even on the Transcendences, which is nice, but the tank ultimate's also even here as well. So I'm expecting a little more neutral, but ooh, Drifters just take the point. Okay.
They take the point, but they lose out on Razor. So they're without their Echo player, and Vi will hit the Pulse Bomb to try and even things back up. Transcendency, it's expended by Drifters to try and keep them in this fight. And now Self-Destruct will be thrown onto that high ground, not going to get anything for the duplicate from Delilah. Instead, will go down, and now we have players starting to retreat from Antico.
Right, and honestly, a little sloppy. That's just a solid misplay. I feel like they got zoned off and were not paying attention to the objective, and then Drifters just walk in and get it for free. Some ultimates committed on either side to try and bring it back either way, but Drifters with the point control and with the presence of the Tracer, it was too much. Not enough value out of that EMP from Biz, really, and the damage just started mounting and mounting for Drifters, and now suddenly Anteiku, who were in a great position, have to basically start from scratch.
And now you look at the ults that are starting to come up from Drifters, too. Icy's getting back into the mech, but has already a self-destruct ready, and Delilah goes down again in the beginning of this fight. So they lose out on their Echo early on. They've got to wait and regroup, and you can see that they're not even going to try and give any ult percentage over to Drifters.
No, and good thing, too. It's probably the smartest part of these last couple fights for them. They at least want to disengage cleanly and come back in with their ultimates. Not necessarily an advantage either way, but plenty of cues to press and plenty of opportunities if they approach this at full time.
You can see Harui just backing up to avoid those mines that are coming out. Vi, in the meantime, going for the back line, but loses out that battle to Pascal. So Pascal giving an early advantage, but Delilah goes down to the pile driver. Self-destruct thrown over, doesn't find anything, and Drifters are slowly but surely taking control of this point and holding on down to 96%. Biz is coming in, is about to get that EMP, but they've got to get a huge one for this to make a difference. EMP comes out, one player already down in Harui. They get two players with it. Otherwise, Delilah needs to come up big. Overtime meter's starting to go away as Anteiku tries to come back in. Transcendence gets used. They lose out on one, but Decod goes down too. And this is a fight that's stalling out.
Yeah, it's super back and forth, super stally here. Lots of presence on either side from the point. Vega swapping over to Lucio to come back in time as duplicate comes through from Delilah. I just don't know if it's going to be enough. Drifters are so in control there.
Drifters, though, end up losing it. It goes right back over to Antico. Antico will be able to get this back, but they have only one ultimate really going to be coming up at the start of the fight from Kami on the other side. They've got probably three that'll be up pretty early on in the fight for Drifters.
Right, Vega having to swap back to the Brigitte as well, just going to Lucio for stall, but Brigitte is the better play, so you have to go back to her. Biz has to build up this EMP as much as possible, and Delilah is buying him a lot of time, which is great. Kami barely staying alive there, nice little swing, and this extended fight, I feel, will start to favor Antico more and more as it goes on, especially when people are dying with their ultimates on Drifters every couple seconds.
They have the ultimates, though. The advantage is still there for Drifters, but like you said, for Antico, now Pascal's getting close to having that Transcendence, so they built some time to allow them to at least curb the advantage that Drifters had a little bit, and now that Transcendence is up. But now they've got to try and fight through mines to get onto the point. The beam by Razor trying to take out Delilah in the sky. Pulse Bomb hits onto Vega, though, so you lose out on your Brigitte. It's down to a 6v5. Transcendence has to be spent here to keep themselves in this for Antico. They've got to be careful too, because they did let the point flip. Harui goes down thanks to the EMP, and Icy falls too. Self-destruct will force players out of that point. This is a close fight, and now Zolik will use the Brigitte ult, keep this stall going on, get some armor onto their Tracer in Fi. They just need to clear this point off. Vega is still here stalling on the Lucio, allowing for players to get back for Antico.
Right, it's just great EMP to start that fight, and that nice boop down into the low ground. That is actually huge, but it's all Vega can do to stay alive. I don't know if this is going to be enough, despite that amazing EMP for Antico.
Players starting to come back, though. Icy back into the fight, though, on the other side for Drifters. Pile Driver coming in, too, from Decod. Fi with that Pulse Bomb back into the fight. They can't get on the point for Antico. They got them off just long enough for Drifters to take the 1-0 lead.
Yep, that overtime was way too long. There was no margin of error for Anteiku anymore. But despite starting kind of in the middle of that fight with a great EMP that I believe got 4, there were too many people that were too low. So abilities are not. Drifters were able to bring back the man advantage, get their spawns back, all of whom or most of whom had ultimates. And Anteiku in that whole time were just in stall mode, hoping something got clutched. And that did not happen. So close still, I would say, obviously.
Yeah.
But
a little bit.
yeah, you know, I suppose we could say that was close. It was, you know, whatever. I feel though like Anteiku kind of, they had control of that, and then that one like flip for free really just kind of started moving the scales in Drifter's direction, but needlessly so. So I really want Anteiku to kind of like sharpen up here. Like they could have had that way more easily than they did, and now they didn't get it at all.
And now they're down 1-0 on this control point and have to try and get themselves back even up. And composition-wise, we're seeing just a little bit of a difference. Decod is down in the beginning. That Sombra can try and hack out that Wrecking Ball that's coming out. And now Dusk just eating up some of that damage early on. And we end up getting a pause here. Not sure for who. It looks like we lost somebody on Antico, so that's unfortunate for them, because they had an advantage.
Right, yeah, a positional advantage for Anteiku, though the point was being capped for Drifters pretty comprehensively. I'm more worried about the ultimate there for Biz, because he's going to come back with nothing and have to run back. If I'm Anteiku at this point, I just run, I just back up, I come back as 6 and try again. Because if you stagger out a 5v6, Drifters are going to come into the next fight with a huge ult advantage, more already than they just developed because of this DC. So if I am Anteiku's coach, I am screaming, run home, please go, and we will see what they do as we get out of this pause.
Which is unfortunate, since they did have that slight advantage that they were creating, but now Drifters will get control of the point instead, and a lot of damage will come onto Delilah, who's got to be a little bit careful there, as Decod's already back in, and, well, not careful enough, unfortunately. Sai was there on the backside to get the kill, as Delilah was hiding to get healed.
Yeah, I mean, just, again, not clean enough disengage. It looked like they were trying to back up, but also maintain whatever positioning they could, which, yeah, I respect, but they know you're down. They know the DC just came through. They know they have the advantage both in terms of positions and manpower. So run, leave. Now, look at Drifters. Fi has the ultimate. Razor is close behind. Haruhi is behind on the Transcendence. That is a notable advantage for Anteiku that they can try and use, but they want to hold on to that as long as they can. That pick, though, is a nice start.
Evens back up, though, with Vega going down, but Pascal still making sure to get those Discord orbs on. A player decides to use the Transcendence, wanting to make sure to keep up Kami, who's dropping in aggressively on to the rest of Drifters. They do manage to make that dive work, a kill onto Zolik, but Pascal and Delilah fall quickly after. Razor on this duplicate works effectively and gets them this up to 64% for Drifters.
I mean, really great duplicate there for Razor, just getting value, getting the ultimate, getting some space created with that extra beef on the point. You always love to see it. And in addition, that is all Drifters use. So they are approaching, or have now, as I get through this sentence, 5 ultimates. Anteiku, not far behind themselves, but now the shoe's on the other foot from the last fight. Pascal is 80% behind on his Transcendence because he used it in that last fight, and we're entering last fight territory. The timing for Anteiku is pretty rough.
And Kami goes down immediately. Razor getting him with the beam, and now can focus on the player in the sky, getting a lot of damage in. That's a high risk to duplicate to try and get yourself another Zenyatta for a Transcendence. It does not work out for the side of Antico, and now they can just burst down these final players, have to deal with the Brigitte ulting in Vega, but Drifters looking pretty convincing here on map number 1, able to win this second point in a 99-0 fashion after they can just get these stalls out of the way. A couple players left that are just trying to keep this going for as long as possible, but that's it. It is a 1-0 lead for Drifters.
Razor going for that Mario Party star that you get at the end for the most heroes used over the course of the series. Excuse me, let me, nope, never mind. I plugged in my mouse. My light is gone. Well, I just feel like Anteiku that whole time had a fighting chance, but I
Yeah.
feel in key moments they really dropped the ball, and not like a pile driver from Kami the way they probably wanted it to.
Mhm.
There were moments where they had an ult advantage, but were caught out because of a pick. There were moments where they had the positional advantage and kind of let the point go for free. And against a team like Drifters, that's not a mistake you can afford to make ever. So, like I said right at the beginning of City Center, Antico really need to sharpen up because
Yeah.
there's some pride on the line here. And if you come in showing that sort of weakness, Drifters will take advantage of it, but contenders, like upper level contenders teams, will destroy you for it.
And Drifters, to their credit, did that especially on our second point City Center, where any mistake that Antico made, Drifters capitalized on it almost immediately. And for Antico, they did have that first close map though of University, so they can't feel like all hope is lost because you still had a decent start there where it looked like it was going to be a close matchup. Unfortunate timing of a DC right at the beginning, and we just know how pivotal that first fight is, especially on control. Where if you lose it, you tend to lose that point eventually, percentage wise.
Right. There's the common stat that's often passed around is that the team that wins the first fight on a stage of control has a 60% chance of winning that round. So obviously, as mentioned, losing that first fight, pretty rough. And there's not much you can do about that. You kind of just have to brush yourself off and say, yeah, man, internet issues happen. That one was rough, but we bring it back. We go again. Hanamura is an excellent second chance, I think, for Anteiku. They don't want to C9. They don't want to give up the point. They don't want to make those easy little mistakes. Obviously, this is some mad analysis here, but it still applies. Overwatch League teams C9 all the time, and I bet the coaches say, just don't do that anymore, please. So that is me. Coach Thibble is telling Anteiku, don't make those little mistakes. Just be aware, take a breath. This is a match for pride, and that matters a lot to a lot of people, but it shouldn't matter enough that you lose sight of your actual goals and of your training as well.
Right. You don't, just because this game doesn't matter doesn't mean you want to have a bad showing. And I don't think they're having a bad showing. They've just made a few mistakes that Drifters has been able to turn into larger advantages compared to what other teams would have been able to do.
Agreed. Yes, if you were playing against a team at the bottom of the group or something and they didn't really pick up on that or punish it quickly enough, you could get away with that. You could have flipped that point back really quickly and not made a big deal of it at all. Drifters will not let that happen. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. That is not a thing you can afford to do. So,
one map. They've lost one map for Drifters so far in this Contenders Trials run.
Oh yeah, yeah. They do not let mistakes go unpunished, and now Drifters looking to go for some initial high ground control here, but not stick to the Symmetra as we've seen in other rounds. The Tracer Echo again coming through. Meanwhile, on Anteiku, I like Delilah on the Ashe, really try and counter out Razor and keep him uncomfortable. I'm okay with this.
Also, a little bit difficult to get on that high ground for Thai, so Thai can't really contest you up there as easily is the only thing. When you have a pocket, even though Delilah takes a lot of damage from the sticky bombs, well, guess what? Already back to full HP, doesn't even matter. So, in the meantime, the rotation is coming through for Drifters so they can try and contest some of those players, not on the high ground, but just a little bit lower, and it works. Jump right on to Biz and Pascal. They go down. Dusk quickly to follow afterwards. And now this pocket mercy for the Ashe doesn't matter so much because you have such an advantage.
Right, such a great collapse and just a complete denial of sight lines, and in this small room that no one can get to in time, you are winning effectively there like a 2v4 in an instant. And that is why we are getting this cap so quickly. 545 in the bank, which is insane. I feel like we've seen it a couple times here.
I think it's the fastest one, though.
Yeah, so far I would say of the many relatively quick first point captures, that was the fastest, which is strange really because Anteiku, I think they're making the right strategic choices. They just get caught out in those key moments. And remember, Drifters will always punish you. That said, Biz and Delilah punish Decod right back. They say, no, you large Norwegian man, be gone with your amazing beard and your cool sunglasses. We do not want you here.
Yeah, didn't work out for Decod that time, but when you have 5 minutes to work with, it's not the biggest loss in the world. He can still come back and try and contest over on that other side. You can see Fi is working over there too. Recalls though, and will change trajectory of where they want to approach the point from. Delilah's still on this other side, trying to deal with Razor in the sky, and Razor doesn't have a pocket to keep them alive like Delilah does, and ends up winning that fight. But the Transcendence will allow them to get aggressive on the Kami. So taken down on one side, DPS on the other, Fi going down too. So now you have no more DPS if you're Drifters, and you seem to be backing away here, going to wait for their DPS to come back.
Right, especially on 2CP second, you need such a decisive fight to cap that point. If you're not winning that fight really hard, you're losing that fight. And Drifters are coming online with a lot of ultimates. Yeah, both Transcendences are used, but they're basically even, if not a little ahead. So if I'm Drifters, yeah, back up, group up, come in with your 5 ultimates. There's a lot of Qs about to be pressed, but Drifters do still have that advantage, and plenty of time too.
And you know there's no rally on the other side. It's just the Valkyrie ultimate. And Vega's the first person to go down, so you don't even have that ultimate available. So you have the healing advantage if Zolik can get to that rally quickly. Bob, though, will be here to stall things out. Not actually on the point, though, so they can still cap the point if they so choose. Right now, it's just about making sure that you can try and keep everybody alive, but Decod goes down. You have a replacement, though, because of the duplication from Razor, but Razor doesn't last long on that. Haruri goes down as well, so you don't even have the chance to build up to that Transcendence. The rally not going to be enough, and now Vega's back in the fight.
Right, back in the fight and getting an ultimate because of the cover from the Transcendence. So another man advantage here for Anteiku. And like I said, if you're not dominating the fight, you're losing the fight as attackers on Hanamura second. So Anteiku win that fight. And most importantly, they hang on to a lot of ultimates. Vega, yeah, using the Valkyrie. Pascal using the Transcendence again. But Delilah already back up past 70% towards Bob. Biz already basically has a pulse bomb again. I mean, when you have that much time to build up in that long extended fight, you happily take it as the defenders, and they're burning. They've already gone through about half of this time. And it looks with their ultimates like they're gonna burn through another minute or two more at least. Of course, I've cursed them, and I'm sorry, but we'll see what happens.
Still have to actually make it happen. So maybe the fact that you pointed it out means that it.
Notified it. Who knows?
Well, we'll find out though. That's the one thing for sure. We know that there's another Bob available for Delilah to stall things out as the approach comes through. Icy can't eat the pulse bomb, will lose the mech instead. Gets the tracer low, but can't get the kill. Instead, Fi goes down on the opposite side of the map. As we can see, Razor here with the rest of Drifters tries to escape.
Looks like they're going to get away. Anteiku just using their DPS ultimates and both getting some decent value, I think. I don't actually remember the Bob that well, but hey. He's there. He's not there to be seen or to be heard. He's just there to shoot people in the face or something like that. They still have their tank ultimates and Pascal pushing towards 80% and counting on that Transcendence. So not too bad, not too far behind Haruhi. However, Drifters building up the minefield, and the duplicate could be pretty explosive, I suppose you could say. We'll see what they can do.
It could be. The Transcendence could be the big difference maker. But Decod goes down early in the fight again on the Wrecking Ball. So they're without that harasser in the ball. So you have to try and create advantages elsewhere. And that's one of them, is getting Delilah out of the fight, dropping on his Razor, who duplicates the Wrecking Ball, so you still have a Wrecking Ball in the fight. Transcendence is used in desperation. Haru used his as well. But this is starting to go better for the team that's attacking. They just have to deal with the Wrecking Ball. Now the Ash coming back.
Yeah, and you see Razor there lazily rolling towards the spawn and dropping the mines. But despite that, despite people having to get through those mines to get back, Anteiku's still coming out on the other side or from another angle, avoiding those mines and still winning the fight in the neutral. Drifters now, not much in their toolkit. Sure, a rally and a self-destruct coming online, but those are initiation tools at best. And Anteiku have the spawn advantage, they have the Valkyrie coming online, and a Bob. So huge point control, huge healing advantage, and it's looking a little bleak for Drifters right now. 30 seconds in the bank, and they don't have a lot to work.
It's a lot to ask of a team with basically no ultimates to beat a team that has plenty of ultimates that should win them the fight. And Decod again down early on the Wrecking Ball. So now you've lost the Wrecking Ball advantage once again. Kami can now be free to just help out wherever is needed. There's 10 seconds left. Somebody has to go to the point. They're just kind of poking away right now on the high ground for Drifters. Where is that touch going to come from? It's going to be Decod, who finds his way back into the fight. But again, Decod's the only one who's died so far. There isn't anything else that's happened yet, and now you're just so far behind if you're Drifters, where it doesn't matter what happens afterwards. The rally will stall things out, and Harui will be able to get a kill onto Pascal, but you have lost so many players, and they are able to res Delilah back into the fight for Antico. This is a struggle to try and get just a little bit more percentage if you can for Drifters, but it's not going to go their way.
I do not think so. Razor getting that kill onto Delilah is nice, but the DMAC coming through, some pressure now onto Razor. He's melted instantly. The Baby Diva on point, and Wrecking Ball just trying his best. We talk so much about the ultimates there, but every time it actually came down to Decod just getting caught out early. And I wish I had seen really how that was so. If he was getting stunned out by the Brigitte or just out-poked by Delilah and Biz. I kind of want to go through a brief history lesson, which is perfect because we have a pause. Kami just disconnected, it looks like. This week in Europe, we interviewed Kafi, who is playing for New Kings right now. Or rather, excuse me, he's playing for Old and Board. But used to play on like the Israeli World Cup team and a couple other contenders teams besides. And he explained that Tracer is functioning like a support in this meta right now. She is the bodyguard for your Wrecking Ball, who pokes the other Wrecking Ball and kind of keeps them away so they're not playing pool against one another. So when Decod is getting caught out, it's not Kami who is given free reign to run around and do whatever he wants. It's actually Biz. Because instead of having to worry about where the other Wrecking Ball is, he can just run around in the backline and do whatever he wants. And he's doing so much work, softening people up, getting through Icy no matter what he's pulling out, getting through Razor no matter how high in the air he is. We saw that a couple times in that last fight. The Tracer is enabled so much when they don't have to worry about keeping that Wrecking Ball honest. So with Decod dying early like that, Anteiku had a massive damage advantage in addition to the ult advantage and the positional advantage and the spawn advantage, and suddenly Drifters look paper thin. They had no attack plan without that initiation and without the teeth of the disruption that Decod could provide. So they really need to look at how he's getting caught out, what he can do to avoid that perhaps, or what other support the team can give him, because clearly it has not been enough. That was a rough thing to watch for Drifters. With such a huge time bank to be held like that, that is not a team, that's not like a contenders level attack in my eyes.
The first point was so good too. I mean, you think about how they quickly dismantled what Antico was trying to do. It's easier, of course, on first point, but you didn't expect when you had almost 6 minutes that all of it would go away, and that Antico would now just need 59%, 59.7 to be exact, on the point in order to win. And they don't look like they're going to change up a lot for Antico. They're still going to run the Ashe on the other side. Not much changing needed for Drifters.
I mean, it looked like it was working, right? So why not keep trying? This poke comp is clearly catching Decod out, forcing Drifters back, not keeping them as offensively capable. So this could be kind of the secret sauce here for Anteiku. This could be something that they've found, some sort of golden ticket that will really help them against Drifters, who might otherwise be the more experienced team on paper. So good on them for figuring something out that seems to be working. Whether or not that holds here, this is a different phase, a different part of the map. That remains to be seen. But the damage from Delilah, man. That long, if you give Ashe that space, she's gonna take it.
And that's exactly what happened. And you don't win that if you're Harui, because you have to hit every single shot if you're the Zenyatta, and it's just asking a lot for your Zen to be able to do that.
Whoa.
So this is another fast time. 6 minutes was on the clock. So this is now the fastest time we had here for an attack to have going into point B.
All right, and this time it's not just get as much as you can with this time bank, it's get that 59.8% and tie this series up. And if I'm Anteiku, I'm feeling myself right now. I am feeling really good about how this is going. Delilah just killed like half the enemy team. was just raining shots. The pocket is working really well. Our support ults we're well ahead at pretty much every ultimate category. This is your time. Take advantage of this momentum, like step on the back of their neck, basically, right? Like, don't let up.
The one thing, though, is it's going to be a lot harder for Delilah to get set up. That's the one difference, being the attacking poking team compared to a defensive poking team on this map. And Dusk is already down to Razor, but they're able to get a tick. They were able to sneak one in. They didn't ever stop them. That's huge for Antico.
Yep, that is absolutely... all right, guys, our work here is done. Let's go ahead and jump off the map. It does not matter if they kill us right now because we have 5 minutes to get back in there and get, what's the math? 22.3% of the point. That's all that's left. Drifters, yeah, coming online with a good brace of ultimates here. But they're going to have to worry about the Valkyrie, damage boosting a ton of people. You're going to have to worry about the disruption from Kami, the Bob on point, and just the shots from Delilah in general. Like, Anteiku don't necessarily need their ultimates to win this because they're playing so well in the neutral right now.
Then again, just throw Bob on the point and see what happens. That Bob alone could be all you need.
Really could.
It's in the realm of possibility, although Biz right now has to be careful on that flank, trying to deal with the Tracer on the other end, and Fi was losing out on that battle, runs back to where their team is, and now you can see that they're being a little bit more focused, having Decod be somebody. There's the Bob onto the point. Transcendence used to keep Decod up. Zolik also used the rally, so they're layering their support ultimates to keep players up on either the high ground or the low ground. And now Decod goes down. Biz to follow up to take out Zolik, and Drifters don't have much to keep this one going as the ticker goes up, and it is now tied 1-1.
I mean, and that was a clinic for Anteiku. I think I've started to maybe figure out what was going on with Decod. I feel, and we've seen this a lot when Ashe has been meta in the Overwatch League and in Tier 2 against Wrecking Ball specifically. When a Wrecking Ball comes in and tries to pile drive, or even just tries to roll at you menacingly, as he does, Ashe really has the perfect answer to that, because the coach gun will stop him dead in his tracks. So if he's trying to drop from on top of you, coach gun away, he doesn't knock you up, deal that extra damage. If he's trying to swing into your whole team, coach gun away, he doesn't have the momentum to deal that damage and disruption. And then you say, oh, look, it's our delightfully gift-wrapped present full of ult charge. Let's all turn and murder him. And then he dies. So just a postulation for me as to what's been happening with Decod, because it's uncharacteristic. Decod is a damn good player. So for him to be caught out like this speaks more to me of Anteiku really stepping up rather than him like throwing or anything like that. And also that would just be rude anyways. I'm not here to tell these guys they're feeding and throwing. I am in plat. I have no room to stand on.
Right. The damage boosted Ashe is very tough to deal with if you're a Wrecking Ball, because you've probably lost a large chunk of your HP before you even get there. And one of the things that pocket is doing is it's separated from the rest of Antico. So that extra shielding that Decod would maybe normally get on team compositions that are more bunched together, you don't get. And then you got the coach gun to stop you from having any momentum. So definitely feels like that might be something that Drifters will have to figure out how they want to adjust to. Antico, though, definitely feeling good about that one. That's for sure. It's for Antico, I mean, that Hanamura, as far as where we're going next, you might not have the same success, because I believe it's Eichenwald is our next step. So
it is. I mean, Ashe has found success on Eichenwald before. There is a chance. It obviously, I think, depends on kind of the dynamics of attacking versus defending and the other compositions that Drifters want to pull out. But really, if they're just going to keep trying the Wrecking Ball in the same sort of style, I think Ashe might honestly be a pretty solid answer. And good on Anteiku for figuring that out and kind of throwing in that wrinkle, because it has stopped Decod in his tracks and really stopped Drifters in their tracks as an entire team. This one pick, the two if you count the Mercy Pocket, of course, really, it just fundamentally alters the way you have to play as a Wrecking Ball. Because, as you mentioned, you roll up, you're maybe at half health because she's been shooting at you from 800 yards downrange, and then she stops you with the coach gun, and you can't knock anybody around, and then you're just standing there like John Travolta in the room in that one meme. It's like, where is everybody? and then you're in spawn again. So strong move, I would say, for Anteiku.
We'll see if they have an answer for the side of Drifters when we come back here on Contenders Trials.
Uprising Academy, they lay down the shatter, let the bodies hit the floor. Uprising Academy at 95%.
Right now with Hydra building up to this Bear Barrage so quickly.
Oh!
And asking!
Double kill in the back with the pulse bomb from the high ground. Aerial assault with that mine.
Impact se escucha debajo gritar campeón a Sky Foxes.
Holy cow.
And after 42 consecutive losses, the Shanghai Dragons get their first win.
8 teams enter this weekend.
Oh no, Reinhardt, what are you doing?
We got a clip with minimal information. It's time to break it down. Speed, 25%. Go. Figure out what this man's SR is.
Keep fighting until it's for sure lost. Winnable!
Back here for Contenders Trials North America, tied up 1-1 between Drifters and Antico Eichenwald, our next map. And we know Echo is definitely more than likely going to get played here, but that Ash is definitely an option for Antico.
Oh yeah, that Ash is always an option for Antico. It would seem they really like the play. Delilah coming alive with that one really on Hanamura, showing Drifters that there's a lot more to them than meets the eye. They are an up-and-coming team, but that does not mean they are one-dimensional by any stretch. So now a chance for, as you mentioned, plenty of chances for Echo, but I think also plenty of opportunities for some long-range hit scan to really start shaking things up. We have not seen much of it, but after results like that, I don't see why you wouldn't try again.
Yeah, try the Ash again because it definitely stopped what Drifters was trying to do with Decod. Drifters can make an answer, though. They can switch up what Decod's doing. They can switch up the DPS that they're doing themselves to deal with Kami on the Wrecking Ball. Kami, a very good Wrecking Ball. I think that's one thing we highlighted Kami, but Kami as a Wrecking Ball player, I think, is one thing we didn't really talk about.
Insane. Also a very good tracer. That was what he swapped to in that one tournament where they were off-rolling that I was casting. He went nuts. So clearly very good at aiming and flanking and really understanding those side positions, which for a Wrecking Ball, awesome skill set. Of course, Drifters, as mentioned, could swap up to, like a lot of things, really. Sometimes the best counter to a sniper is another sniper. Sometimes the best counter to being outplayed as Wrecking Ball is to swap to Reinhardt, start swinging the hammer. So we'll see.
And Decod is not somebody who would be upset to have to switch to a Reinhardt either.
No.
So that is always a possibility. What we know that's going to happen right now defensively, is that Drifters has switched sides. They are defending here. And Decod is going to still be playing Wrecking Ball. But they really aren't changing anything up.
No, it looks like they're confident or perhaps really just more practiced on this composition than any other. And they don't want to try something new here. We talked about whether or not the teams would take this seriously or use it as an excuse to go full Clown Fiesta. Looks like they're playing this like any other game. They don't want to treat it without the respect they feel it deserves, and that means sticking to what they have practiced. That said, I don't know, because Anteiku seemed perfectly happy to adapt. They're sticking onto this Ash pick, and if it works as well as it did on Hanamura, then Eichenwald will be over quickly.
I need a health restore.
see if maybe how Decod plays the Wrecking Ball changes. You can already see not being quite as aggressive as we've seen him be previously, just waiting for that correct opportunity, and now decides to drop in. Coach Gunn to force him away, swinging in. I think he ends up beating him to that health pack, and Delilah, who was backing up, and now is able to escape. So that's already much better, but Biz was able to win the Tracer v Tracer matchup barely.
Right, and it's even if you're suddenly playing way better as Wrecking Ball and not getting caught out, there's still 5 other people on your team that you have to worry about, and 6 other people on the enemy team that you still need to worry about for that matter. So even here in this fight, kind of a long neutral start, Kami being rinsed from both sides. They were both, I think, just waiting for him there. And a nice win there for Drifters as Fi gets this flanking pick and maybe another.
Ooh, almost got the 1 clip onto the Ash, but the healing keeps him alive. Able to escape thanks to the recall. So Fi, they took so long for Antico is the only problem that Fi was able to get back in there and matter in the fight.
Right, yeah. Create an impact again, get back in and get a couple kills. He is a phenomenal hit scan. You cannot give him that space. Much like we've been saying for Delilah, but Fi steps up. He was winning MVP awards during the Mayhem Summer Classic. He has just consistently been a rock for this team since he joined. And if you're Anteiku, I should say, you really have to keep an eye on that, because now you're looking at some pretty big ultimates coming online from Drifters, though plenty for yourself as well.
Some damage put into Razor, who's about to get the ultimate up as well. Transcendence is going to get used by Harui here pretty early on, so they're without that Transcendence. That Bob will have a lot of free room to work with, but Biz getting 1 clipped by Fi, and then the recall kill. That is beautiful from Drifters, and they have stalled out Antico.
Fi is metaphorically talking that trash and really showing this young buck who the better Tracer in the lobby is today. And that in and of itself is a nice victory to have. Winning the Tracer 1v1 is really impactful in this meta, and if you can do so consistently, then so much the better. Decod hanging out, just scouting, kind of poked away a little bit by the Dynamite, but not too much. And Drifters, and so importantly, still have a ton of tools to work with.
And now Kami starting to come in. The Duplicate going to be used by Razor is on that high ground, stopping players from actually advancing towards the point. They are about to get a tick, though, for the side of Antico. They were able to sneak that away, but Harui, in the meantime, gets a double kill on the Zenyatta. And the Gravitic Flux doesn't come through on the Duplicate for Razor, but that's okay because this is still a fight going heavily Drifters' way.
Right, losing that tick is a little rough, but at the very least you're still winning the fight, and you're going to stagger out a couple people even and build up some ultimates again. A little expensive, that early Transcendence. I think Haruhi got kind of pressured out there, but he's still ahead because Pascal also ended up using his. Kami now swapping over to the Roadhog from the Wrecking Ball. I am interested. I am intrigued. You've solicited my... Yeah, that's the thing. 30 seconds. They're going for a decisive pick. They really need that instant advantage that offers them, because so far in the neutral and in ult fights they have been a bit behind.
And they're definitely behind now because of the swaps. So you make these swaps, you need to make it pay. The self-destruct by Icy will keep players back, stalls them out for the moment, lets players get healed back up. The pull in onto Icy doesn't get a kill, but Decod does go down to Biz on the flank. So now you have an advantage, but Transcendence is going to get popped here. Harui able to build up to that. The sticky bombs killing Dusk, and now you have only a few players left on the point to try and stall this out for the side of Antico. And now you've got the Roadhog pick in for the Duplicate from Razor, but Zolik and Harui going down. You've lost both supports. Razor not getting any value out of the ultimate. This is starting to turn for Antico.
Yep, and the thing with this Roadhog pick is that you can get kills through Transcendence. Razor was not able to because he hooked in the air and fell behind the cart, and it broke the hook. Because this is not 2016 and you cannot hook people behind solid surfaces anymore, thankfully. So a smart play there from Anteiku. They knew that Haruhi still had the Transcendence and that they wouldn't be able to get anything done with the Wrecking Ball in the middle of it, and that they would probably be cleaned up. So why not go for something that can burst through that Transcendence, nullify that advantage, and win that fight? A really smart strategic play from them again. And now Delilah on the Echo actually getting taken down by Razor. I immediately cursed him that time.
And this is where you want the cart. This is not where you want the cart to be stopped if you're Antico. Exactly where you want it stopped if you're Drifters. Because now you've got to try and figure out how you want to deal with all those players that are on the high COD. Deep COD too can just be swinging through and then retreating and coming back in from the high ground to drop down on top of you. And while that's all happening, Phi is still playing on the flanks and getting killed.
Yeah, and Delilah swapping off the Echo immediately to the Soldier. Too annoyed to even bother staying on. A bit behind, obviously, in ultimate charge because of that swap. But the hit scan balance is actually pretty nice for them now. It could be a key factor coming into this really open air streets phase, but we're in a pause first.
Yeah, and you just look at it too. The Soldier 76, if you can get control of the high ground, can be very effective for Antico. But they've got, what, a little over a minute to try and make something work here for them. And Drifters definitely in a or in a good spot. Antico in a rough spot, especially too. We had a DC come through. They got a lot of players DC today for Antico.
Internet's rough. Yeah, a lot of server issues, a lot of weather. At least over here in Cali, I don't know where these guys are located, but we've had our first major rain of the season, which of course everything is falling apart. No one knows how to deal with rain over here. It's a very rare thing. So yeah, it could be that like a stray piece of hail hit something metal, and then suddenly the internet goes down, because that's how that goes, right? It's so great. I love that so much, but it hasn't happened to me. I'm gonna go.
Meanwhile, here in Chicago, we have like 70-degree weather, like the beautiful November weather, which is not a sentence that or phrase that I would ever think I'd say about the Chicagoland area having in November. Like literally this time last year, there was snow on the ground. So I don't understand why that's happening. What I do know is that we're going to take a quick time out, and when we come back, we'll have our lobbies filled again as we wait for that player on Antico to reconnect. Welcome you back as things start underway once again. Antico trying to regroup here after they did lose Biz and bring him back in after the DC. Phi gets the kill onto Delilah though, and Antico will have to regroup.
I mean, they're kind of hanging around, maybe a little longer than I would like, hoping for the regroup. Biz coming right back. It's not like Tracer takes too long to get over there. Would have maybe liked to clean or disengage, but Kami doesn't care because you just fish down fine and keep this going. Duplicate coming in from Razor.
So now you've got to try and get some effectiveness out of this duplicate from Razor. Gives you that extra tank. The whole hog is out. And now gets the Gravitic Flux. Tries to pull players in. Gets at least one into the air. And the self-destruct comboed with it to get the kill. Nice combo done by the off-tank and DPS to give them an advantage. Kami didn't manage to get a kill onto Phi, though. So here without one, 13 seconds left.
Yeah, and with this time, Drifters are more than willing to kind of hang out still. They don't want to give up too much space. They think they can take this last fight. They do have the ult advantage too. The Transcendence is the most important, but the Minefield as well to start some zoning off on this fight is big.
Forces players away. Some of those mines already exploded though. Harui goes down, but Vega is the answer on the other side for Drifters. Overtime meter going on. Decod trying to force players into the mines, doesn't quite connect. And now Razor coming through with the beam, gets the kill on Takami. Still on the high ground, getting close to another duplicate here in this fight that just happened. Gravitic Flux will pull one player up in the sky, but the Transcendence on the ground, keeping everybody alive from Harui. And now the sticky bombs helping to finish off that final player in Vega. And they've set themselves a very good win condition for Drifters.
Oh yeah, I mean, super winnable there. There have been crazier holds before, but not all the time, especially lately. Frankly, a lot of teams have been finishing this map and going into extra rounds. So a first round Streets hold is not too bad, especially considering I believe Haruhi went down early in that fight with Transcendence, which I thought was going to be disastrous.
First person, I think.
Yeah, the first person to go down, but then, like you mentioned, the immediate trade back for Vega.
Yep, so the mic there cutting out, it sounds like, from Thibbledorf, but we'll get him back here in just a second. But as he was saying, though, the Pulse Bomb kill onto Vega really sort of evened things back out. Pascal wasn't close to the Transcendence, so you lose out on what you could have had from Vega, and then Razor and Co. able to just combine and take that back. You can see the setup here is going to be the Soldier 76 from Delilah, so they're still going to have that with Biz, and then Kami and Dusk, they'll stay on that Sigma and the Wrecking Ball, and Pascal on the Zenyatta. Pascal's Zenyatta has still been very, very good. It's just about the things around it that have to make sure that they can keep him up in the fight. Fi showing the Widowmaker, maybe just to take a look here in the sky. Maybe. Yeah. Oh, and gets it! It's a huge first pick that comes out for the side of Drifters, and now you can see them advancing forward. At Soldier 76 and Delilah will have to run back quickly. They have tried to back away, though, making sure that they can regroup together. Yeah. So the players coming back in for the side of Antico to try and stall this out. They chase down Decod, but they got to deal with the players that are on the point. Delilah coming around the corner now, flanking. They forced back most of Drifters, but they've got to be careful because respawners will be coming back for Drifters here in just a moment, as Harui on the high ground just trying to deal with those players coming back on the defensive side. Harui will end up being taken down. Zolik will even things back up, and Fi throws that pulse bomb on, gets the kill, is able to blink away just in time. And this has been a hard-fought fight, and it's not over yet. They're still contesting this on Antico.
Right, it's so back and forth here, but Anteiku really refusing to give up these last-minute picks, even committing the Transcendence towards the end of that fight. I don't know if I'm super about that, but here we go. They have the Visor and the Pulse Bomb, which is nice, as well as close to the Rally and the Gravitic Flux to counter, I suppose, the support ultimates coming online for Drifters, as well as the Duplicate and the Minefield. So plenty of queues to come up, but 2 minutes now. Half of this time being burned for Drifters, so they gotta start moving.
They did manage to at least get 33%, almost had the second tick, but they've at least made a little bit of headway. They've got that Duplicate back up. They have the mines in that room. Now you have to either get to the high ground or go up. Delilah, though, has plenty of players to shoot with the Visor as the Gravitic Flux pulls everyone into the sky, and Antico, effective use of their ultimates.
Oh yeah, I mean, fantastic combo there. A little expensive. They're committing the Minefield. They actually gave up the second tick to Drifters there, but they do get the pick on the Razor, and I think that should be enough to start securing this. Though Drifters will be as annoying as possible in the process.
They have the respawners coming back, though. That's the one thing. Respawn advantage is definitely here for this side of Drifters, as they do have their players coming back in. Nice self-destruct into the air by Icy. Players extremely low. The Rally, though, putting armor onto the players that are left for the side of Antico. Delilah, again, flanking around, trying to find players there, but the beam from the other end from Razor is giving the advantage back over to Drifters. Nice play, sticky bombs. Kami had no choice but to roll into them to get back on the point. And now they have 3 minutes and 20 seconds to get to that box of victory.
Which is quite a bit of time when you think about the distance. I feel like that whole fight, there were so many moments where you had to go, this team has the advantage, but now this team has the advantage. It's insanely close here, but what matters in those close fights is how much value you're getting out of each and every button press, right? Your APM has to be as effective as possible if we really want to get into some min-maxy number terms here. But in reality, the mad analysis of it is that your keys need to do more than their keys, and you got to score more points than the enemy team. And not get caught out like this. Again, decaught. I feel like we've seen this so many times, and in such a key moment, this defense is going to come in with a great advantage now for Anteiku.
They had to get there quickly, though, because all of that time spent on decaught allowed for the card to advance so far forward. They only need to win one fight as a result for the side of Drifters. Antico does get a nice pulse bomb kill from Biz to give themselves an even bigger advantage, but Harui answers back by getting a kill on Pascal, and that's a long way for Zenyatta to go to get back in a fight.
Long and slow, he does not float quickly, and he does not have a turbo setting, so he's going to be running back as quick as he can. He will have the Transcendence at least to bring him to that last bit of the fight, but he's going to need to use it soon because, nope, never mind.
Oh no! He got spawn camped by Fi. Zolik goes down to the ultimate, the mines, and now from the back side, Delilah from behind gets the kill. Nice shot with those Healit rocks just to get another one, and now Antico will be able to stabilize.
I feel like in any other game, your Zen getting spawn camp with ultimate would be enough. With less than 2 meters on the field, you feel that would be enough. But even so, Delilah coming back with the hero play, that backline flanking visor somewhere out there. Again, Sumito is pumping his chest and saying, yes, it is viable and competitive play. It's not just me. But even so, there's still plenty of time here for Drifters to start to turn this back around.
And a focus from the side of Drifters to clear off the high ground. They know they just need to win the fight, and then this game is theirs. Players getting extremely low. They forced out Pascal's ultimate extremely early. Had to use the Transcendence to stay in this fight. They also have the rally getting used too, so they do not have any more support ultimates to deal with Drifters. Double kill, Pulse Bomb though gets decaught and Fi. You deal with both of those flankers, so there's still a chance for this side of Antico. Harui going down as well, and we're down to 46 seconds.
This is the Battle of Thermopylae. This is the 300 Spartans in the pass. This is the waves of the Persian army crashing against the Spartan shield wall, and the phalanx saying, no, we will triple kill visor you. We will double pulse bomb you. We will win these fights against all odds and advantages. And with 30 seconds left now, it's really this will be the toughest test yet. Anteiku have almost nothing to work with, but an extended fight will give them the flux, the main field, and the visor against the self-destructive Transcendence and the pulse bomb for Drifters.
Transcendence can be the difference though, and of course you have Fi with that pulse bomb just waiting for that right opportunity to come in, focusing down, trying to get that soldier out of the fight, and the drop onto the high ground works. Gravitic Flux in desperation, but that's all it is, a desperate attempt to keep this going for the side of Antico, and this will be the cart getting completed. The stall will be short for Kami, and there's the victory for Drifters as they take a 2-1 lead.
I mean, it's been so close all the way through, such scrappy fights all the way through, but it feels like Anteiku are keeping it scrappy just by the skin of their teeth, and the Drifters are keeping it scrappy just because they're so good. They're so, both of these teams are amazing, of course, I must make that disclaimer, but Drifters consistently are pulling ahead in ultimates, getting more value out of them, except those couple hero plays here and there, and just their positioning in the neutral and their understanding of when to engage and pull away is just that little bit cleaner, and it's those little edges in these close, high-octane matches that decide entire maps and entire series. Now Drifters on match point.
Match point for them. We'll take a timeout, and then we'll see if they can win this one in a 3-1 fashion, or if Antico can be the first team to take 2 maps off of them. We'll be right back.
Academy, they lay down the shatter. Let the bodies hit the floor. Uprising Academy at 95%.
Right now with Hydra building up to this Bear Barrage so quickly.
Oh!
It asking!
Double kill in the back with the pulse bomb from the high ground. Aerial assault with that mine.
Impact se escucha debajo gritar campeón a Sky Foxes.
Holy cow.
And after 42 consecutive losses, the Shanghai Dragons get their first win.
8 teams enter this weekend.
Oh no, Reinhardt, what are you doing?
We got a clip with minimal information. It's time to break it down. Speed, 25%. Go. Figure out what this man's SR is.
Keep fighting until it's for sure lost. Winnable!
Two-one lead for Drifters here between them and Antico. Both these teams have already made it in the contenders, but who will be the top team in the group? That's what we're trying to find out right now. It's Labosco and Thibbledork and Thibble. Drifters seem like they figured some things out. Decod has definitely changed the style of play when there was the Ashe, but there wasn't really a chance to play the Ashe there on that point, so they didn't have to worry so much, too.
Right, yeah. I mean, the map definitely didn't favor her as much as a Hanamura, for instance, so he could kind of go back slightly to his more chaotic ways. But in general as well, it did look like Drifters have been adapting not only in terms of heroes, but in terms of play style and engagement style, and really understanding where best to place themselves so they do not donate their bodies to science here on Eichenwald. Now that we're getting onto Rialto, another good chance for some hit scan here. I would say more consistently than Eichenwald for sure, and perhaps a chance for Anteiku to take us to another map 5 today.
Yeah, they have the ability to use the high ground because of the fact that you have not as many good avenues for that wrecking ball to come in, and then of course the long sight line. So yeah, works a little bit better here if that's the choice they decide to make. For Drifters though, defensively, we're seeing them do a little bit of what we saw Antico do, which is they are going to play the Ashe here with the Mercy for Vega.
Well, let's see. Very interesting. I like that Antico are going back to this. Keep an eye, the names are actually on the wrong sides here, so Antico are pulling out the Ashe again. They are the same sort of pocket style, using that hit scan again, but Fi coming out on this Widow again. We saw what he did last time. Let's see what he can do now. The shields are going to deny him.
You're right. So things are still, they're going to go with that. The Widowmaker from Fi gets a shot on, and looks like Fi might switch to the Tracer, and that's exactly what happened. So doesn't get the kill, but does put the pressure on, forcing back Antico a little bit. So they at least will create some space for themselves.
And that does count as doing work, you know, that's enough value for the Widow, really. You don't expect to stick to it consistently and get consistent value with all these shields around anyways. So the swap immediately to the Tracer is fine. And again, keep an eye. Delilah focusing Decod, watch his health bar. He is being poked down and really kept honest in his play. Again, this is a lot like Hanamura, but Drifters are still making progress on the card.
One of the little wrinkles that's different though, Razor on Soldier 76, so not playing the Echo here, instead on the Soldier, so can deal a little bit more with that Ashe, but Icy a little bit too far ahead, goes down, so advantage over to Antico.
Right, a nice little pick out there. He went for a side, I think, like flanking CC, and really, Antico were just really ready for it. So Drifters try and clutch something out there in the moment, in the neutral, and Antico say, no, you're not winning any of these 1v1s. We're all going to just collapse on you, and this fight is over. Approaching 2 minutes now, half of the time bank already close to gone for Drifters, and while they're approaching some ultimates, they are still notably behind Antico with not much to show for it.
They didn't make it those couple of swaps, so that is part of why they're behind, but also just they haven't been able to collapse on to Antico the way that they want to. Now they start to push forward. The pulse bomb kill, though, from Diz gives advantage over to Antico again. And now by the time they finally get over there for Drifters, they are at least at a disadvantage, but they've been able to force these players back. Trying to kite away is Antico, and it is starting to work. Delilah gets the kill onto Phi, and now there's a little bit less that you have to deal with if you are Antico.
I feel like Drifters are just trying so hard to clutch things out when they're otherwise down, hoping that their mechanics will get them through some key fights. But Anteiku are not a team at the level where you can really take advantage of that, where you can try and clutch something out when you're down. If you're down, you're going to be down. And Anteiku now are basically winning like back-to-back like mini fights just because Drifters refuse to really fully back up. They need to run. Yeah, jump off the edge if you have to. That fight was over a minute ago. Why make it last? Now Phi swapping over to the Ashe though.
So now you have the Ashe and the Soldier for the side of Drifters. You still don't have the Mercy though. You're still going to keep Zolik on the Brigitte. Maybe they want to keep Zolik there just for the ultimate that's about to come up. Either way, you do have that Transcendence that'll be available here in a moment. Oh, Biz tried to go for the one clip, didn't quite get it. That could end up being disastrous, but the Gravitic Flux pulls players in. Vi gets the kill onto Biz. Razor going down too. Transcendence will get used by Harui. Gravitic Flux pulling Dusk in extremely low, can't stay alive, and that might be enough for them to get this point for the side of Drifters.
That was definitely the answer. Finally getting the fight they wanted on that side. Decod not immediately getting caught out, and Phi providing that extra pressure and damage on the Ashe. Not a ton to show for it just yet in terms of ultimate percentage, but the way you have to think about it. And this last contest was hardly a contest at all. Kami using the minefield, but it felt like they were just kind of sent out to slaughter him and Pascal. So now 2:40 on the clock, with and it's going to be a bit until Anteiku can really force a full contest here in Street Space.
And this is where they can make up some of that time that they lost for Drifters if they can have an effective push here in the second part of the map. They only have to deal with that pulse bomb, but we've seen Viz can hit massive bombs that change the course of a map almost. So a lot riding on that. Pulse bomb does hit too onto Icy, so you've already created an advantage for yourself, and losing that Sigma is a huge loss.
Right, but again, if I'm Drifters, just run. You're down. Don't bother trying to clutch this out right now. Save your resources, don't give in, and give them all this ult percentage to stay ahead of you, because if they're doing this right, they know right now that they are ahead, that the Transcendence is further ahead, that the Valkyrie is online, and that the Bob has been ready for a hot minute. And Razor might try and get something done with this Visor, but they really have to try and separate the shields away first. Otherwise, he's just going to be plunking away at photon barriers for a while.
You got to deal with that Wrecking Ball coming in too. Have the rally come out from Zolik, so they have that advantage as far as all of that armor. Razor will pop out, help get a kill onto Kami, so both Wrecking Balls down, but you still have to deal with this Bob on the cart. Delilah throwing that out, but now it's time for another Bob to see the light of day, and that's Phi's Bob, and that will help force back the rest of Antico, and they can finally see this last part of this Street Space.
Getting some fights in the neutral, getting better value out of their ultimates, and winning some not quite 1v1s, because I don't think Pascal was really aware of Haruhi there. Forcing the Transcendence out just because of some pressure from the mines, which is not too bad. Play some Minesweeper here, that's fine. At the very least, you're not too far behind Pascal, and you're pretty comprehensively winning this fight and moving the cart.
Oh, that was... Vega just danced around on that Mercy and didn't die and gets out. And now you have the Gravitic Flux come in to kill Icy, and now the Hyperspheres can get this Brigitte extremely low in Zolik. So the value from that Mercy, being able to be in this fight still, survive through, making a difference. And now you have a huge Dynamite coming over the top.
Yep, and the Pulse Bomb coming out from Biz does clean up Zolik. He was already pretty low. He did manage to stay alive in that fight for a pretty decent amount of time and actually get a little more progress on the point. But Drifters now, less than 10 seconds. It's going to be all Decod can do to touch. He has to hit this. Please don't mess this up, buddy. You're really going to hate yourself if you do.
Didn't pile driver in, made sure to get the touch first, does go down, but that's okay. Stalls it out long enough for everybody to get back. Waited for as long as possible before making that touch. You have players coming back in. Razor has the Pulse Bomb available. Phi has made the switch over to the Soldier 76. Gravitic Flux pulling in Delilah, sends out the Bob though. Transcendence coming through from Pascal. Harui about to get the Transcendence as well. Delilah gets rezzed back into the fight. Decod gets Biz down, and they're keeping this going for Drifters. They're able to win this with the ultimates that they have. They just have to deal with that ball that's going to come back. Kami actually will just go off the map.
No, he knows he needs to reset. He knows there's no getting away from this. He was not going to escape without giving a lot of ult charge. Delilah and Vega both also in that same predicament, just trying to run for their lives. Vega managed to get the way off the Guardian Angel. I believe that was from Pascal. But Delilah does not make it out alive, unfortunately. Dusk now swapping over to the Sigma. Not too far behind Icy, luckily enough. But overall, their ultimate's not looking as strong as Drifters in this key moment with less than a minute on the clock.
They did make a couple of swaps too for Antico, and that's part of why. They do have the Pulse Bomb though for Biz, fighting right now in that 1v1 with the Tracer on the other end and Razor. Razor now the one playing on the Tracer. Fi on the Soldier 76 gets stuck though. Does Fi. This is a fight that's over. They've got to try and regroup. They need those players back to have a chance for Drifters.
Right. I mean, when you have so little time, you know you have an advantage if you do this right. Just go. And Icy trying to hide, but he is a large floating Dutch man, so
very
not
difficult.
quite working out for him, I suppose. You know, physics as it is. Actually swaps over to the Diva, looks for a quicker pick, knows he's not going to be able to float those little toes over the point quick enough, and instead opts for the lady in the giant robot suit.
Gives you a better chance of getting to that point too. You have the mines come through from Decon, and they get a kill onto Vega, and now you have advantage on the cart. You've got an extremely low dust goes down to the micro missiles from Icy, so this switch already paying dividends for Drifters, and now the cart pushes on towards that end goal.
The little difference is the extra mobility from Icy and the burst damage from the micro missiles, providing so much pressure onto those squishy targets.
And now you have the Visor getting players extremely low. Harui going to use the Transcendence, keep everybody up. Pulse Bomb missing from Biz, one of the few that we've seen miss. Decon getting aggressive on that left side. Zolik will throw the rally out too. And now the kills start to come through for Drifters. Antico looking like they could have full held them at one point. Gives up every single part of the map and then lets an overtime push be completed.
Right. I mean, for Anteiku, I wonder how frustrated you are versus how understanding you are of, like, sometimes the other team just builds up an ult advantage and is going to make it through no matter what, which happened a lot there for Drifters in those last couple fights. But yeah, I mean, that full hold, it was looking like towards the beginning, that would have been quite the story. And now they have their work cut out for them. They have to finish this map to stay alive. Then they have to go into extra rounds to see if they can get that much further than Drifters. And this whole time, it's burning through the clock. They're getting, you know, maybe a little tired. It's getting a little late, depending on where people are in the world. This is a high-stakes game. We talked about whether or not these teams would really give it their all. And right now, it's looking like a yes. These guys want that first place pretty bad.
Well, Drifters in a good position. If they can stop Antico anywhere on this map, it is theirs. For the side of Antico, they still are playing with this Ashe, though. The Ashe of Delilah has definitely been something that has been working for them, and they're going to stick with it.
Yep, they're pretty happy with it. He'll have plenty to do with an Echo flying through the air and Decod flying into his face. I expect them to try and put a lot of pressure on him as he makes this attack, because he's going to go for off angles and high grounds, and they have to contest him, because if they don't do anything about him, he's going to melt them.
A lot easier to take control of those high grounds, though, for the defense this way, because you already start there, where you have to push into that if you are the attacking team like Antico is. And Kami getting dropped pretty low there might stall, knocking some players off of that high ground. But you can see there's the fight on that high ground, and the right click misses for Harui, but the left click doesn't miss for Delilah. They now have that control, and now force players into that back area, back by where that river is. Oh, that accretion rock from Icy knocking Biz off. That can make a difference. And then a hypersphere kill onto Pascal.
Icy, like, put some respect on this guy's name. Such a veteran talent, such an amazing all-around off-tank since his days for like underwater squad. And for Triumph, he has always been at that level, and he has only gotten better with time. He is in the perfect places, he is getting good value out of his abilities, and he has a great understanding of the game, and that is paying dividends for Drifters right now.
Well, Drifters needs to make sure they stop the cart because nobody's there just yet. They start to advance on those players who are there. Nice job from Antico to take as much space as they possibly could. Fi will go down in that backline battle to Biz, but that's kind of an ancillary note because the front line is losing of Antico.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's one thing to lose a player here or there in the back line, but it's another to lose players that are so integral to how you approach these fights. If a player drops that makes you have to restart the entire approach, then it's a better value pick. And right now, it looks like Drifters are kind of getting the edge in these fights that are otherwise pretty close.
Yeah, definitely a negligent thing if you lose out on your Tracer, but you take out the main tanks or the supports or anything like that who are so important, especially when you still have Razor in the sky that can do whatever. They made that switch, by the way, to the Echo. Already have the ult. Will duplicate onto the Wrecking Ball, so they have double Wrecking Balls to try and knock players off in that back area. The Pulse Bomb stick gets onto Harui and gets the kill. Razor now just swinging back in, throws out the mines, gets the kill with them just at the end. Will try to beam another player down, but that looks like too many players lost. They'll contest for as long as they can and actually throw the Gravitic Flux out. Will Icy won't get it off though, but it will allow for players to come back and stall. Decod back in, gets a little bit of those, throws the mines out, but they get off the point. They can't stall it out long enough. And Kai is just caught in the back line right now.
Shout out Vega there for absolutely bodying this guy, doing the safety dance, and just not letting him get that final shot. Sometimes, man, like we talk about Mercies a lot, kind of just as like, it's the pocket, maybe they come through on the Valkyrie and start popping off or something, but like your positioning and your mechanics of just movement on the hero make a lot of difference at how long you stay alive and therefore how much heals you do. So shout out to Vega, who I think consistently has proven to be one of the better main supports right now in Trials across the board.
Pretty darn good main support for sure. Kami coming in. Oh, Harui gets hit with a dynamite and goes down, but Biz will be lost too. So you lose that transcendence that Harui had, but it's taking a little bit of time before they can get in here. Dusk pulls two players up into the sky, slams them down, gets the kill on to Icy, and we're starting to move through this Streets phase for Antico.
Yeah, I mean, some solid progress, some clear fight wins that are giving them lots of time to get the cart moving, as we see right now. Fi swapping over to the Tracer. He is done with this Ashe duel. He doesn't want to worry about the long-range hit scan anymore. He wants to get in on the flanks and apply pressure, helping out his main tank do their thing.
So now here comes their re-engage. Mines get thrown on. Decod tries to roll away, rolls back in. Just got caught. I didn't think he wanted to go that way, but had no choice because he lost momentum and goes down. But the Bob gets burned quickly from Drifters, so that all does not have the value desired. Razor, in the meantime, building up to another duplicate. Might need it here soon. Decod's going to be back into this fight in just a second, too. Already is back. And this is taking a little bit of time for the side of Antico.
It's taking some time, and they do lose Delilah, which is pretty big. If I'm them, I'm kind of trying to get away, but they did commit. They are committing, though I don't necessarily know the wisdom of that. The Minefield and the Valkyrie lost here, as well as it looks like, I mean, really just about everything. They kind of used everything in that fight and did not get much. So back to the drawing board here for Antico.
And they get a stagger kill, too, on Kami at the end. So you're down to a minute and a half for Antico to try and get this cart onto the final part of the map.
Right, and they'll have the Flux maybe within the next minute or so, but look at Drifters, right? The only thing they're missing is the rally, and they're gonna have everything else here, like within the next 20-30 seconds. So a wealth of options and way more advantages in a key moment, because, I mean, this is match point, series point on the line here for Drifters, and it looks like they're ready to take it.
First place point, of course, too. Winner is the first place team, loser is the second place, but both are in contenders. Pascal gets the kill onto Decod at the beginning. Fi goes off the map, so Drifters kind of losing in this fight before it even starts, but they will have the Gravitic Pluck that they'll throw out, and they get the kill onto Kami. They've got some players coming back. Transcendence will stall things out too. Razor not getting a ton of value, but enough with that Gravitic Pluck that was used in the duplicate to make the difference, and now you have to retreat if you're Antico.
Right, they do build up their DPS ultimates pretty quick, as well as the support ultimates too. Honestly, faster than I expected. Pascal was hitting his shots, and it looks like Vega was doing a pretty good job as well. So they have, it looks like 4 or 5 tools coming online, and they actually pulled a lot out of Drifters there. They build up the rally, but they use pretty much everything else. And now, almost on the other foot, there's 10 seconds left, but Antico have a great advantage here.
Pull up one, manages to catch Icy, and Icy can't get healed up to stay alive. Decod just trying to keep this cart from reaching that final point, but overtime meter goes. A kill comes through from Fi on the Biz, but Delilah doing work on the backside, helping to keep this cart moving. They should be able to get it to this next point. They have the players, the advantage, and now they have the mines there too, but this is expensive for Antico to keep this going, and they're losing players.
It's expensive, but they have to. This is it, right? If they lose this fight, it's over. So they must commit everything. They must secure this team fight win. Now they have 1 minute and 30 seconds. Build up that Transcendence again. Try and build up those DPS ultimates and probably the Flux as well. Weather the storm from the Pulse Bomb, and it looks like probably the duplicate and the minefield and the Transcendence themselves for Drifters here in this last 70 seconds. And let's see if you can bring her out into neutral. Go for another eco push perhaps. Get that last fight at 30 or 40 seconds, building up an advantage if you can. Delilah actually swapping over to the Soldier though, looking to provide some more consistent damage. But Pascal is down already.
Pascal going down is a massive loss at the beginning, and they just clean up there with Razor and Fi throwing that Pulse Bomb in. Decod went down, but you can get back so quickly if you're on that Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, and like I said here, this is the chance. 40 seconds left. Anteiku building up some advantages. Pull the Pulse Bomb out. Icy swapping over to the D.Va. No rally here for Zolik either. So a slight DPS advantage for, support or advantage for Drifters, but not nearly as much as it was. This is Anteiku's last and best window. They have to make something happen here. This is it.
Beam coming down onto one player. Pascal goes down in the mine. Biz falls quickly after to Razor's left clicks, and now can get aggressive with the beam, start getting those players low. They are now chasing these players down on the side of Drifters as they look to finish this one off.
Yep, I mean, 3 seconds left. It's all anyone can do. Kami just touching the point and then following. Pascal coming in with the Transcendence, just making sure anyone can touch here. But Drifters with the later Transcendence, generally the better Transcendence. That's it.
They couldn't even get there. Drifters win this one 3-1 and take first place in Group B. Well, Antico ends up falling to the second place spot, but again, both of them had already clinched their contenders spots. It was just about it was going to be first, it was going to be second. So congrats to Drifters on earning that first place spot. They lost 2 maps the entire Contenders Trials run.
Right. I mean, and such a fantastic team. I almost wonder how they made it back down into Trials, though, of course, they lost fair and square just as much as they've been winning fair and square here. So good on them to be back. I'm sure they'll hit the ground running again, get amazed up at head coach. Plenty of amazing talent all around in this organization, their creative staff and their socials and everything like that. Obviously, I keep an eye on that stuff pretty closely. But beyond all that freely stuff, their competitive team is so consistently good. So both of these teams, I think, are fantastic additions to Contenders, again, in Drifters' case. And I'm excited to see what they can do.
Definitely am. And we'll talk with one of those players on Drifters here in just a moment. We'll be back with that. 3-1 win for Drifters over Antico. It's Labosco here, got Thibbledork alongside of me, and now we're going to be joined from the victorious Drifters, the #1 team in Group B. It's Icy who joins us. And Icy, first off, you guys already knew you were in Contenders. You guys had already clinched your spot before this game, but congrats on winning first place and getting Antico and showing them who's boss.
Yeah, thanks. It was fun. Fun game.
What was it? How serious of a game was it for you guys? I mean, you guys already knew you were in Contenders. Like what was the goal for you guys going into this game?
They were the highest. Well, we were tied for high seed in our trials group, so we knew the match would be better than our previous matches. We didn't really have a goal. We just scouted what they did, and on the first map, we just figured out that they play very, very slow. So we all equipped our voice lines and spammed them. So that was nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Hey, sometimes that's just what you got to do. I've been hearing a lot of that Baptiste behind you line.
Yes,
and it's,
yes. Personal favorite.
Yeah, it's that sure is a voice line that's in the game. Let me tell you. So, I see you've been around for a while now. We can say you and I, frankly, go back a good ways as well. Looking to you're back in Contenders now again. You spent plenty of time in there now. How do you think the team has grown and progressed and improved throughout 2020 and getting into this last month specifically?
Well, obviously we lost a couple players after the last season. So this new season with all the players, Fi, Haru, even Razor kind of is pretty new. It was rough to start. It was a little rough. We went through like phases of like being good and then being really bad. And I think we've improved quite a bit since we started, and we're starting to hit our stride, which is really nice. But we still got ways to go.
What's the biggest thing that you're looking forward to getting back into Contenders with this team?
Winning, hopefully. We want to win. We won 2 of the weeks last Contenders season, like season 1, 2020, whatever they're called now. But we haven't won a single week this time, and I'm pretty disappointed about that. Gonna try to win last week.
I suppose that does sound like a reasonable goal. You come in to compete and to win. So shout outs to that. You and Decod have been together again for quite a while now. As you guys have gone through these phases of being good and phases of being bad, are you two, kind of like the rocks around which the team is built, or like how does the mental of this team as it changes and grows, how is that handled?
We have a pretty good coaching staff and a pretty big coaching staff. Obviously, Zenith left recently, which sucks, but now we have Amaz head coaching, which he changed the style a little bit. He's a mental coach, so it's always nice to have him around. He keeps everyone's mood like really nice. And we also have Nader and Sword working with people individually. Our overall mental as a team is pretty strong. We changed a little bit coming in with Amaz. We don't scream in officials anymore, which I kind of miss, but I kind of don't. So we're a lot more calm, and we just chill in officials now. Our mentals are all pretty good. You said me and Decod like as the rocks. I'd say more so like Zolik and Decod bring more leadership than I do. I kind of just help out with like their leadership with leading the young ones. But yeah.
Is it a rule not to scream, or did Amaz just cast a spell on you, or?
Yeah, he casted a spell, I think.
Okay, changing things up, changing up the behavior in an official. But hey, can't say it's not working. You're back in Contenders, my man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, and clearly you're bringing those guys up pretty well. You've made it back into Contenders. Any final thoughts, Sybil?
My usual last question, is there anyone you want to shout out or say thank you to? We've talked about that coaching staff that's doing so well for you, but if anyone comes to mind, feel free.
Yeah, I just want to shout out the coaching staff. They've been incredible. With the change of Zenith leaving for head coach, Amaz took a big role, stepping in as head coach. He's never done that before, as far as I know, and everything's really new for him, and he's working very long hours, pretty much not sleeping almost every night. So that's kind of crazy.
Wow.
Guy's a hard worker. I've talked to him a lot too. He's really dedicated, and it shows because you guys have some great results. So glad to hear it.
A lot going on for you guys too, and good luck obviously in the final month, and hopefully you guys can get that win finally for this season of Contenders.
Yes, hopefully.
Well, that's going to do it here for us. Thanks again to Icy for coming on here to talk about them winning that top spot. It's been a fun day of Contenders Trials, but that's it for the year of 2020. It's been a ton of fun, and thanks again for watching us, and thanks to Thibble too. Been a lot of fun getting to cast these games with him. So we thank everybody behind the scenes as well that makes this happen here for Elo Hell. But that's going to do it for tonight, and we'll see you. There's still plenty of contenders left.